it's more of a clarity, and this is great. This the reason I want to talk to you because it's not about you. It's more about me, and it's for clarity because this is something that was very interesting that came across my head. So let me preface this by saying, anytime it's another week in the books day, I always most of the day when I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about all right, then content, whatever we're going to talk about. This is a much different platform than either. This is probably the most unique platform that either one of us have. Whereas it's a way for us to kind of have more serious conversations, more accountability, really look at how Black men, how we're treating each other, going about things, everything else, right?
Yeah, this definitely the most personal content.
Yeah, we do. Very personal, very personal. So if you're all out there familiar, obviously, this is kind of actually another week in the books is an offspring of the On Deck TV show hosted by Spike Lou and Animal Brown. It's a hip-hop podcast or TV show, should I say. It was way before the podcast days. But there's a segment in the show called Wins and Losses.
Yeah.
And I think I sent the actual J. Cole thing to you and Mo in the chat. And I don't think neither one of y'all said anything when I said it. But and Portia, I want to get your thoughts on this too. Well, not really about the thing. So J. Cole he's doing this podcast right now, just kind of going over his career and everything like that. And there was a moment, and I read the headline on his first album, not his mixtape, but his first album, The Sideline Story. There's a song called Rise and Grind. That's actually one of my favorite songs on that album. 2011, 2010, 2011. Because I just
is that what he's saying, like in the basketball court or something? That's not.
No, that's the one that came out
in the locker room. He's standing in the locker room with the
varsity jacket, Letterman jacket.
Sideline Story. That's not
Sideline Story. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
that's his first Sideline Story. That's his first album. Rise and Grind. There's a lyric where he has a line where he says, "Nigga, you lame, you Shane Battier." And for those who don't know, Shane Battier is a former NBA player. He used to play at Duke University. Long career. You would know him if you follow sports, but he's also he a lame. Like, I mean, he's somebody you would see in passing and be like, oh, you a lame, right? And you already know how people view Duke basketball, especially there's been a resurgence recently and people like it's been a cool thing to do. But back then, if you went to Duke, people hated you. Like it is what it is. That's not the quote unquote black school or whatever the case is. But J. Cole at 25, 26, whatever, however old he was, had that lyric, nigga, you lame, you Shane Battier. And you were doing wins and losses on the episode of On Deck. And AB gave him a win for going up to apologize. Well, let me back up. Make sure everybody has the full picture of what happened. That line came out in 2011. I'm not sure exactly what year J. Cole ran into Shane Battier, but apparently they were at a restaurant down in Miami, at the same restaurant. J. Cole sent someone over. I don't know if it was his boy. I don't know if it was the maitre d'. I don't know who it was, but he sent somebody over to Shane Battier's table to let them know, hey, J. Cole wants to talk to you. Shane Battier's like, huh? And out of nowhere, J. Cole pops up and says, hey, man, I just want to let you know, I want to apologize for this lyric, right? And Shane Battier didn't care. Like, it is what it is. Truth be told, Shane Battier probably didn't even know about the lyric, or I'm sure somebody told him that, but he wasn't.
He said people had told him about it, and he didn't care.
If you know anything, or if any's slightly familiar, you can tell Shane Battier wasn't losing sleep over it. Something like that wouldn't even hit his radar, in my opinion. Right? You gave it a loss. Yeah. You said it's a loss. Yes. And I want to ask you for clarity, because a lot of the things that you said, I agree with. Actually, I agree with everything for the most part. Because none of us, all three of us, would do that. It's not that deep. I'm not going to spend my time, especially years later, almost a decade later, if not longer. But is there any part of you, and this is where I want to get some clarity for myself. Like, I want to know if I'm tripping. Is there any part of you that feels or looks at it from the standpoint, you know what? I kind of respect that, just because obviously that was something that was on his conscience.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't about Shane Battier. It was about J. Cole. Like, for whatever reason, right? For whatever reason, and obviously the whole Kendrick thing over the summer, we know how J. Cole is, man. I've never met him. I don't know the man. He seems like a nice guy. Like, he means well in everything he does. And if he does step off the ledge a little bit, he tries to reel it back in, which can be annoying, right? We talked about it with the whole rap thing. Like, you don't tell us for 3 years that you're the best rapper, that you're ready for smoke, and then when smoke come, you disappear, right? This is we ain't gonna revisit that. That is what it is. But as a man, right? Take the fun out of it. As a man, do you see that, or is he still tripping? Do you see something where he's like, man, obviously there was something, whether I understand it or not, there was something brewing inside of that man, because he had said in the podcast when he was telling the story.
Mm-hmm.
At some point down the line, maybe 5 years or so after that, he said, if I ever run into him, I want to tell him I apologize for that. So it had been something he has been on his mind for years.
He said that on the podcast?
Yeah, so there was a point in time.
Okay,
lyric,
got you.
There was a point in time after that lyric, maybe a few years later, where he just felt bad. He was like, I was praying that I would run into him one day just so I could tell him, like, I ain't mean no harm by that line.
Yeah.
Right? Which to us, like, you see Portia rolling her eyes and shit.
Portia face hilarious.
I get it. I'm the same way. I get it. But once again, if I wasn't thinking about another week in the books, I probably wouldn't even think twice about this topic. Right. But I thought it was interesting because we do look at things a little bit differently here. Is there any pass or bail, whether you understand it or not? And remember, we just had an episode a few weeks ago. It's not always about you, right? To where you can see J. Cole just saying, you know what, this is keeping me up at night, regardless how lame it is. Regardless how lame it is, this is keeping me up at night. I need to apologize to this man. Is there any respect or any kind of like salute to him for that? I'm just curious.
There's not a salute to him at all, no. But I can see what you're saying. I can see where if it bothered him that much that he felt like he had to do it for him, not for Shane Battier. However, that's part of the reason, like that type of attitude, and even what you said, that being on his mind, I feel like that's the reason that he's slated 3 out of 3 in the big 3. Like it's just a mentality that goes with wanting to be the best at something, where shit like that wouldn't be on your mind. Like you think so is like, and I'll give it like, bro, I'm sure Kobe, because like Jordan hit Steve Kerr in the mouth in practice.
Yeah,
like there's an intensity that comes with wanting to be. I bet you Michael Jordan never apologized about that, or he probably don't even think about it. Like I hit that nigga like yesterday, and I ain't thought about it since. I'm sure that's how Michael Jordan look at it. So I get it, yeah, from a like just a personal, a regular man standpoint, but it also speaks to the mentality of like where we rate him.
But do you and that's funny because I've never Lou Williams told the famous story of them niggas played so bad in one game. Kobe came in the locker room. Can't nobody wear my sneakers. He said he made everybody who was wearing Kobe's take the motherfuckers off. Can't none of y'all wear Kobe's. Y'all niggas trash.
Yeah.
Which is a mentality thing, like you said, Spike. Is it okay to separate who he is as a rapper? Because I'll never forget the first thing I said when he apologized for Kendrick or for the whole Kendrick thing. I said, as a man, I respect it. I get it. As somebody who loves competition and as a rap fan, it's the worst shit you could have done ever. Am I looking, or is anybody looking too deep into this by trying to separate the two? Because it is corny. And this is why I'm even asking, because I was sitting there listening and wondering to myself, like, why am I even thinking about it like this? Because I agree, that shit was corny. Because when I sent it to y'all, that was the reason I even sent it. Because, like, why the fuck are you apologizing for a lyric in 2011 that wasn't even bad? Especially when you don't apologize to people, you know, women you might call bitches or whatever the case is. There's other things, there's worse things that you said that should be haunting you. To the point, listen, the idea of in your head saying, if I ever run into Shane Battier, I want to apologize. It's just insane to me. But there's also that side that's like, you know what? Obviously, this must have been on his brain. Obviously, he must have really been losing sleep over this. And I'm glad he was able to release that and clear his conscience.
Oh, bullshit.
All right, so it's bullshit to you. Let me hear you, Portia.
I just feel like J. Cole needs not to rap anymore. Like, don't get in the game and then bitch out at every moment. Like, this is what hip-hop is. This is what you claim you was raised on. You know what I'm saying? Nas is your favorite rapper. Jay-Z is whatever y'all relationship is. Like, you know what this is. Like, if you just want to be a poet and people snap at the end, go to an open mic. Don't nobody want to hear that
shit. Fair enough. We don't, trust me, we do not need to spend a lot of time on this. It was just a random thought that I had while driving home, finishing up the episode.
But I would tell you this, though. The brilliant part about it, not to separate the brilliance and the mindset part from it, like mentality and then the brilliance of it. J. Cole putting this out reminded people why they like him. Like your Fairweather fans, he's just a nice guy. Like that's the whole Dollar the Dream tour, like the college crowd catering to. I think a lot of people have forgotten who J. Cole was by him, that run he went on when he was doing these features, and he was, you know what I'm saying, I'm the best nigga rapping, and people had mistaken the mentality that he has. But the brilliance in it is that he dropped this knowing that it's gonna shift it back to a favor. Like, look what you're doing. You know it's bullshit, and you shooting him bail. You shooting him bail because like this J. Cole, man, like as a man, and I'm growing. Like everything you say makes sense, but that's the brilliance in what he's doing. Like it was cold for him to put this out and make people remember. Like, oh, y'all remember me, right? Y'all remember I'm the dude y'all love. I did 2014 Forest Hills Drive. I bought my mom's old home, like all of that stuff.
Yeah, so, man, and like I said earlier, man, it's part of the day that I've had as well. Like in my group chat, man. Shout out to Salt. Portia knows Salt. Shout out to Salt. Salt reached out, but nah, Salt reached out in the group chat. It was on like, hey man, how everybody doing? How your mental doing? All of that. So we had a nice conversation today just about Black Man Check-In. And I think that might have something to do with it, where I was already thinking in that way. Because if this was any other day of the week, or had that not happened, or this is just any other platform, I'd have clowned.
Yeah. Oh, you was on your Black Man mental health vibe today.
Yeah, and I think that might be it, because I literally, seriously, I was literally in the car thinking like, why am I thinking about it like this? Like, why am I thinking about it like
that
this?
That is whack. It's not part of the game.
Listen, it's not part of the game. Corny. From a rap perspective, it's definitely corny. But I do respect, like I said, I will never understand it. I probably will never understand it. But for whatever reason, that line was bothering him. He had a chance to reconcile and correct it. It makes it even worse, low key. That Shane Battier was like, huh? Like, all right.
Shane Battier, like
it wasn't worthy of a whole 10 years later running into you type of situation, right? It just wasn't that deep.
I'm just curious of why the apology tour.
I really think he's a nice guy, a genuinely nice guy, and I think it bothers him to rock the boat or have any. I don't want to say to have anybody dislike him, but to feel. I think he has to, in order for him to go to sleep at night, I think he has to feel like he gave everyone that he interacted with in that day a fair shake.
So he's a people pleaser.
I don't even know if it's a people pleaser. I literally think it's a him thing. I think he feels if I slighted someone today, it's going to bother him. Here, let me give you an example. And I don't know him, so this is just speculation. J. Cole seems like the type that if he was walking through the airport and someone wanted a photo, but he was in a rush and couldn't do it, I feel like that would be on his mind the rest of the day. Like, it would bother him. He would be thinking about that person. Like, man, I wish I had more time to stop. Where most people be like, man, that just is what it is. He just strikes me as that type of person. He just can't, he can't not give a fuck. It's interesting. I don't know. It's just funny when I.
One more crazy
most
thing.
Of it was me. Go ahead.
Never mind. I thought you was through with it because I was gonna say another crazy thing that he said on there. The nigga said that he introduced Hove to like Hove used to get his steak well done. I find it hard to believe. I find it really hard to believe that Hove was getting well done steak.
I can't.
Do y'all think that they still have a good relationship?
I don't. We talked about this on deck. I think something's up.
It's funny because Spike hit me up. Man, you talked this on the one-on-one. You asked me about that, and I was like, I don't know, man, because Middle Child, when Middle Child came out, he name dropped Hove, like about to go meet Jigga for lunch. Hove gave him his original, like the first Rockefeller chain that Hove ever got. He gave it to J. Cole.
Recently,
now, granted, I'm about to say, that was years ago. That was at one of those New York City Madison Square Garden shows. That might have been during 2014 or something like that. I don't know what's going on. And the only thing he talked about, on My Delete Letter, he talked about getting his masters back. Like he had to pay Hove. And he was like, business is business or whatever the case is. I don't know what's going on. We'll talk about Hove this episode for sure. But with all that being said, that is the precursor. Welcome back to another week in the books. Book 2, chapter 14. As you can see or hear, we are not alone. We have Portia. Portia, what do you want? Portia? You want Portia Renee? How do you want to?
We're gonna go with Portia Renee.
Portia Renee. All right, then I'm actually going to change our episode title to put that on there. Put some respect on your name. It is a pleasure to have you back here with us.
Thank you for having me.
She was on a previous chapter. Yeah, absolutely.
I was excited when we spoke.
Yeah, matter of fact,
I have fun. Y'all got me back into my little bag. I gotta give y'all that.
Yeah, perfect. We have to ask you. I told you beforehand. We're gonna have to ask you your best case scenario because I'm very interested to see what that looks like. Shout out to everybody out there. Shout out to all the bookworms who's reached out. Spike, I don't know about you. A lot of great feedback about that last episode, best case scenario. Manifestation, just reaching out. I got a mess.
Portia got on me about Portia and somebody else. One of my homeboys hit me. Dro hit me up too. He was like, "Nigga, you sound
I already
crazy."
know what they. I already know. Yeah. I already know. And matter of fact,
I want to clarify that I do know that there is a requirement of what is it called? What's it called, Portia? That you have to do?
Oh my God! Now you put me on the spot.
Flexibility. There's a requirement. Yeah, there's a requirement of. I know compromisation in a relationship, but it's probably why I'm not in one. I understand, cool. And if I am in one, I will compromise. But if I'm just speaking openly while not in one, I do not like it.
Well, I'll tell you what I got from it here, and I've already got an idea going. Shout out to Phil. Phil gave us a good shout out as well. Phil's married. Phil has 4 kids. I want to have Phil on here.
Phil done some compromising in his life.
No, I feel like all Phil does is compromise. But shout out to Shaq. Shout out to Shaq. Shout out to Shaq, man. Hold on, man. Shout out to Shaq, man. I love Shaq. Shout out to Shaq. But I will say this. The one thing that you said that I found the most interesting, and this is why I want to get Phil, not because of hey, I'm cool with, or I think anybody should be cool with that. I don't see it, but it was when you said I don't see the benefit, and I'm very curious to hear from a married person about the benefits of marriage, and if there are any.
Yes, so we do need to have Phil on.
But I think it'll be a conversation. But Portia, welcome back. Before we get started and get into the banter, a couple of things. Most important, I do want to acknowledge we lost a legend, an icon, Nikki Giovanni. This past week, man. Rest in peace to Nikki Giovanni. A lot of people, even whether you know whether it was her or not, a lot of people probably know her from that conversation with James Baldwin. I know that's been making the clips, but obviously a poet, activist. Too many great things to say about her to really do it justice. So I'm just going to leave it at that. If you do not know who Nikki Giovanni is, please take some time to do some research on her, see what her life was about, see the things that she spoke about, beautiful poetry, a lot of beautiful excerpts that's been going around this week. But, 2024 has been taking a lot of our icons and a lot of our legends. It wouldn't be right not to start this episode without giving her flowers and making sure we acknowledge the beautiful life that she has lived. So rest in peace to Nikki Giovanni. Second, and maybe something that I've been looking forward to since Monday, man. Spike.
Yes.
You see the motherfucking hat, bro.
Oh God.
You see Portia's background, bro.
Who they?
What's happening?
You left out and came back in to put that up.
You know that.
Hey man, y'all helped us out.
Happening?
I appreciate y'all's help. We trying to get a higher draft pick.
Get out.
We're trying to get a higher draft pick, man. So we do appreciate Cincinnati coming to Dallas and helping us out, man. So we appreciate that.
Man,
y'all man's having MVP season, and y'all wasting it though.
That's all.
We ain't got to talk about that. Let's talk about this win.
Another story for another day, man. Phil even wanted to let you know, man. He said, just tell him that the Cowboys suck. I hope we meet each other again at full strength in the future. We probably won't play off for another 4 years, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Portia, you were at the game.
It was.
Man. How'd it go?
I went the last game, so 2 years ago, and I went to this one. And it was like a lot of us in there. It was a lot of hoo-day. So it was an even playing field, a lot of shit talking. I was about to walk out. And then, a miracle happened and it turned up. But it was a good time.
Hey man, I like it. I like it, man. It was a stressful game. And I was just thinking, like, man, this shit about to go. And what's crazy, shout out to D Hall, man. He's another Cowboys fan, like one of my best friends. But he was telling me the ironic thing is that special teams play wasn't a called punt block. Had he not blocked that punt, Cowboys would have got that ball back, and who knows what happens from there. So the fact that it wasn't even planned to go after the punt, and it happened. It
was the football guys.
Hey man, we was old one. Portia, we was old one.
Yeah, y'all do deserve one.
Yeah, we've been catching heat all season, but it is what it is. But like I mentioned, and this is something I'm glad Portia's on here because I haven't even told her this yet. So this is real time reaction.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, man. So Spike and myself, after you were on, or after you were on the other chapter, maybe a few days later, a week later, whatever the case may be, Spike had reached out to me. I was like, "Hey, man, what you think? I think we should have Portia on, like, again or more." And I want to let you know in real time and ask you in real time. We want to have at least once a month have you on the show. Maybe more, but at least once to have you on the show, whether it's a topic that we're going to discuss and think you'd be perfect for, whether it's something you reach out and just say, hey, this has been on my mind, I want to talk about it, whatever the case may be. Want to put you on the spot in real time so you can't say no. How do you feel about
I feel like
about
Portia
that?
the type that will still say no.
She definitely 100%.
I feel like she
100%. She might log. Portia wouldn't say no. She wouldn't say no. She would log off.
I like having conversations with Black men who think, so I'm definitely down. Most definitely.
Appreciate that. Yeah, that was the invitation we want to, man. We're trying to expand our audience, our voice. Obviously, you are incredible at what you do, and sometimes you can't get the full scope of things when it's just two men. I think it's good as well as Spike and myself have conversations. There's still another voice that's missing, and we got a lot of good feedback after you were on. So
that's what's up. Well, thanks.
It just makes sense. Yeah, it just makes sense, and we're looking forward to having you on. Like I said, at least once a month, and just going from there as you ramp back up on the frequency. But before we get into topics, go ahead.
Real quick, in reference to our last episode, Portia is the only person that I can share my Apple Play end of the year music list with. I ain't share it with nobody else. She was on the full list. I only showed it to her.
I believe it. Portia,
it's interesting. It's very interesting. I ain't gonna put you out there. It's very interesting.
Well, Rich know about the top one. He know who the top one is.
Yeah, I know about the top one, man. It's funny. I don't know if you watched the. Have you watched the next episode? We covering the Sopranos. Have you watched Kaisha yet?
Yeah, I finished it today.
Yeah, there was a moment.
Laughing at a moment. That same moment.
Yeah, man. I got jokes for you when we record next week.
Oh shit!
But Portia,
yes.
Last week, Spike and myself had a conversation about best case scenario. Exercise pretty much just to verbalize and visualize and manifest. If everything was going right in your life, what would the best case scenario look like in terms of where you're living, who are the people around you, what's your occupation, what are you driving, what are you doing for fun, the whole nine. And I want to know what that is. And it was cool, man, because I asked you, I said something this morning or yesterday to you about it. It was yesterday. And you had said, like, it's funny because ever since I listened, I've been thinking about that, which is the reaction that we wanted. We wanted people to kind of think about it in that sense. But what's your best case scenario look like?
So when I was listening to it, y'all were talking about like present day, if you can change it, right? Because I got both scenarios.
No, just if
or
you
was it like from the beginning? If I knew what I knew now.
No, not even know what you know right now. Like what right now, based on where you are right now. Like, hey, I'm doing this, whether I like it or not. What I really want to do is this. Where I really want to be living is here.
Yeah. If everything you wanted to worked out, like whatever occupation you had, whatever salary you wanted, wherever you want to live, like what would that look like?
So my perfect scenario would be I would have already been in New York. I would have like not followed my mom's dream and just went to broadcasting school like I wanted to. But she was like, no, you're going to college. But I would have skipped that whole college thing. I would have went straight to broadcasting school, which I actually ended up doing later in Atlanta. But I would have went straight to that. I would have made sure I was in New York. I would have been beating down Hot 97's door. I would have been, by now, me and Angie Martinez would be best friends. I would have already interned under her. I would have like a radio show, or like when I see people like the Ebro Complex show or like Nadeska, people like that, I'd be like that would have been me. So I would be doing that, either producing or truly talent. Probably in Atlanta by now because New York is expensive and I'm frugal. I would be driving a Porsche with my name spelled on the license plate, Portia. A very nice condo because I don't want to do yard work or nothing. but laid out and everything. No, I take that back. It wouldn't be a condo. It would be a house to where it had everything that I wanted because I don't like being with people. So I would invite my crew over.
What about, about to say, you could just pay somebody for the, I'm sure you would be successful enough to where you're just paying somebody for landscaping.
Yeah, I just paid them for that.
Sal Vitro. Get Sal Vitro over there. That's an inside joke for me and Spike.
But I'd probably be like my tourist brother, Chris Brown, where his house is truly everything that he wants. So he really don't got to leave and everybody come to him.
The compound.
And I would probably be like that. And I would truly still have, because it was interesting when you was like, what would the circle be? Who would you bring with you?
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I have been blessed enough to where like the people that I actually text, DM are all creatives. Like all, supportive and all got talent. I know producer friends, I got podcaster friends, I got photographers and makeup artists and all of that. And I'm with you. I would be like you, Rich, like bringing everybody together and we just build a conglomerate and we out here.
I feel that, man. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad that you put some thought into it. I'm glad that you've been thinking about it. Obviously, book 2 of Another Week in the Books. Book 1, they reached 100 episodes. We started book 2, obviously on chapter 14. One of the main things is book 2 is accountability. So especially now that you're a part of this thing, and you will be making frequent appearances, there will be a time where we follow up on this, and we're going to ask you, what are you doing to get there? Like, what are you doing to get there? And I will tell you just honestly, starting this and having these type of conversations has legitimately changed the way I go about things and really put things to action. I know Spike says it all the time. One of the things about doing this podcast is you have to be more mindful of what you're doing and how you're spending your time throughout the week. Because you don't want to just come on here and say what happened. Like, same old, same old. Like, what did you do productive? What did you do? What are you doing to get better? And shout out to Spike Lou. Ordered my crew neck today.
Thank you, bro.
A few weeks ago, Spike Lou, we laid the challenge down to him. Like, why do you not have merch out? Like, you wearing merch, you got all this stuff, man. Why is it not out? And Spike said it on the spot. You know what? I'm gonna have it up by December. The soft launch has already been done in December. I'm sure there's gonna be a larger launch once everything is done. But salute, man. I'm proud of you for that.
Because salute, send me the link.
I will. I definitely will.
Yeah, man, because it's easy to say, all right, then bet and forget about it. Because I know Spike Lou well enough.
Yeah, send me the link. I want to support.
If it's something that's so, he just gonna kind of let it ride. You actually got it done. You actually got it done, man. And I was geeked when you did it. I was honored that you thought enough to send me the link because it was just a small launch to certain people, friends and family.
Friends and family.
Now I ain't friends and family.
Portia in it now. Portia in it. She just got the link.
Now I ain't friends and family. I can't get a link. Give me the link.
Yeah, but shout out to you for that, Spike, and shout out to you, Portia. Like I said, we will be asking you in the future what you're doing to actually make those things happen.
Please
but I have no doubt that it's going to be happening. Matter of fact, ever since she was on, I've seen that profile pictures done changed to the frequency. And I'm curious to know something. This is just me asking you. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
How do you feel, or not even how do you feel? Do you ever take time to think like, man, I wonder what it would look like had I just kept going with this? Because even with the Culture Garden, right? I always tell people, Culture Garden, we started in September 2020 when it was just me in school. Shout out to school, by the way. School is on chapter 2. Recently 7 months sober. So that was yeah, absolutely, man. That was a powerful episode. A lot of people still reach out about it. I just want to give people an update about what's going on with school. Man, he's doing well, great spirit, great mind. But I say all that to say we were very inconsistent early on. I think we released like maybe 12 episodes in the first 2 years or so, 13 episodes in the first 2 years. And then in September 2022, August 2022, we made the decision we're going to put out something every week. We've been doing it ever since. We got big things coming, man. There's a lot of connections that have been made. Not enough to announce yet, but I'm looking forward to it in the next month or two to talk about some things. And that's just the power of consistency and manifestation. Some things that I spoke out loud on air earlier this year look like they're coming to fruition. So all of that is dope. But I still, even with all that, I still think like, damn, what would have happened if we really had a game plan and really did this shit every single week? I wonder how things will look. I know it's hard to look. Everything, hindsight is always 2020. But does that ever cross your mind, Portia? Because like I said it when you were on here first.
Every day.
You were the originator. You were the first person I knew with the podcast. We're way ahead of the curve.
I truly kick myself every day. Every day. Just because I let it was like a healing thing though, because until therapy kicked into play, I was very about me and what I thought, and y'all ain't about to bite my style. It was all like ego. And I just, in the words of my mom, you cut off your nose to spite your face. And that's exactly what the hell I did. And I kick myself every day. But I feel like God gave me a talent. So when I come back, it's just gonna work.
Yeah. It's gonna come back, man. I was excited to see the logo change. I'm excited to see the relaunch and all of that. Hopefully this is a nice you get some reps while you're here. For
sure. I definitely get some
just to kind of get back in the groove of thing, an idea, whatever it is, whatever you decide to do, whenever you decide to relaunch. Obviously we're going to support you and make sure that you get to
and
where
be
you
on
need
it.
to go.
What y'all mean?
Yeah, absolutely. You already know. That's what I question. That's what I'll question, man. So I'm excited for what you have coming up, and thanks for sharing your best case scenario with us. Also, real quick before we get started, I do want to shout out Chuck Bradley, man, our guy. Just a big time supporter. Big time supporter, man. He Public Enemy B on X. Fuck that. On Twitter. Just gave us props.
The Public Enemy Chuck. Okay. I see what we're doing there. Okay.
Yeah, no doubt. I see Portia with the quick with it, man, the hip hop. But just shout out to him for always supporting, man. And he even took time to clip out something because he highlighted something that he thought was hilarious. He gave us props for the episode and just the accountability and all that. But he thought it was hilarious when I said my biggest fear was getting lifted off my feet, because it really is. It's funny because Spike Lee sent me a video and I was like, that's what the fuck I'm talking about. Spike Lee sent me a video of a nigga getting swung around by his dreads like in a circle. Like, you know how kids play loop-de-loo? You could take like a 4-year-old and just kind of swing him around. That's what was happening.
First thing I thought about was Rich.
Yeah, because I swear, getting lifted. Once you off your feet, them tiptoes start coming up, nigga. What?
As a grown man, hey, you getting lifted off your feet as a grown man. It's crazy.
Speaking of
at all costs.
Speaking of getting lifted off your feet, shout out to Ray P. Because me and Ray P were talking today about the whole Papoose shit. And Papoose, I asked Ray P because I knew the answer. But I had to be funny. And I asked Ray P, like, yo, could you be with a nigga that got knocked out in front of you? She was like, what? She sent me about 7 memes in a row saying no. Like, hell no.
Hold on, wait. So I actually worked.
He knocked the other nigga out though, I thought.
Yeah, I actually worked today, so I kind of got like
Papoose knocked the nigga out.
So Papoose knocked him out.
Right.
Papoose knocked dude
Remy
out.
still with the dude.
Remy's still with the dude, which is how the conversation got started. I'm like, man, Remy a good one. And because he was saying, Pap said Remy had to wake you up. So I'm like, not only did you get knocked out, could you imagine your girl standing over you waking it up? Because the idea that was so funny to me, I asked Rachel on some like, yo, could you imagine sticking with this nigga, like inviting him back in your room and to the crib and shit like that? That ain't gonna be cut off.
What say you?
No, it's absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
And I know me. The day that we get into it, I'm going for the jugular. I am dog walking you. You ain't say that to that nigga that knocked you out. I'm going in. I'm hurting.
It's gonna be all bad. It was crazy. There's so much other
stuff. The nigga claim that's not true though. We can start right there with the episode. The Hit Boy Holler with it. I don't follow battle rap, but whatever dude name is, he put up some. He been tweeting all day. He said that wasn't true. He said it's a story. He said Pap was paying people to say that, to agree to that story. He's like, there's a real story, which I always find interesting when niggas be like, oh, that ain't the real story. But he not telling the real story. He never went on to tell the real story. He just only said that story wasn't true, which makes me skeptical of the story in general.
You're not gonna say that you knocked me out and I'm not telling the story. I'm telling everything. He
claimed it was some type of, because that's Remy Ma's rap league that he's in. So he claiming that to do with that rap league, and contractually he shouldn't talk out against Pap. And I think she asked him not to say nothing or some shit like that. But still, as a man, you're gonna say something. Ain't no nigga finna walk around talking about he knocked you out and you just be like, well, I'm contractually obligated not to say nothing.
I just want to say, Remy Ma, I love you. I don't want no smoke. But you a nasty chick for the way you did Papoose. You diabolical. That's all
nasty
I got.
Work. That's nasty.
Work.
There's so many other Gloria Velez, Clarissa Shields. There's so many layers to this that I'm not even all the way caught up, so we can just leave it there. And we have a lot of things to talk about today. So I want to keep it moving. Obviously, we'd like to get into some things in the zeitgeist and kind of talk about what's been going on in the world. Obviously, if you're familiar with anything pop culture, if you're familiar with anything hip hop, the day that people have been praying for, certain weirdos have been praying for, finally arrived earlier this week. On Sunday, Spike Lee sent a text message with the link saying that Jay-Z has been named in a lawsuit for rape of a 13-year-old with Diddy at a VMA after party from the year 2000, so 24 years ago. Just to be clear and just for clarity, you were talking to right now 3 of Jay-Z's biggest fans, between myself, Portia, and Spike Lee. I'll be all the way honest. I stopped talking to people about Jay-Z around the Illuminati time. When people start saying Illuminati and he worshiped the devil, that's when I decided, like, I'm not engaging. I'm not engaging in any conversation because it's not going to go anywhere. It's not, I just stopped. So obviously this news broke. I haven't said a word about it. Haven't even discussed anything. You a fan when people hit you up like, hey, man, what's going on? How you feel? That nigga stop. Now, obviously, we don't know Jay-Z personally. However, this does not seem within character. And also, more information has to come out. Jay-Z immediately responded with his own statement, which is very rare from him.
I was gonna say that.
Pretty much said, get them 12 white folks to take this shit to trial. It's pretty much what his response was. Like, you're gonna stop playing on my name, reveal who this person is, and let's see what's up. Right? He rarely says anything, but he did respond with that. One of the things that people always say, hey, if somebody accuses me, just like you just talked about, Spike. If you telling me you whipped my ass, bruh, immediately I'm coming out and saying, hell no, that never happened, and I got proof. He pretty much took the same approach. Right now, people have been talking about this, so I don't want to talk about it in the traditional way because that's already been over the place. But the one thing that I found interesting about this story, not just with him, but with people in general, is I am confused, and I want to get your input, both of you, on the excitement of people who are like pretty much cheering for his downfall. So ever since the Puff shit came out, immediately there were people saying, oh, Jay-Z next. And I was always confused, like, why are you saying that? Like, where is that coming from? That's weird. And take Jay-Z out of it.
Like, run together.
Exactly. And take Jay-Z out of it. Like I said, we're fans. Just anybody. Like anybody, any name they were saying, this person's next. But they were talking about Jay-Z. Jay-Z's next. Out of nowhere, with no evidence, no proof, Jay-Z's next. Once the news came out, finally, they got him, lock him up, put him in jail. And I want to ask both of you, what is it? I don't know if it's a social media thing or what. What is it with people being so excited for the downfall of other people? And this might tie in. Matter of fact, let's do this. This might tie in because we wanted to talk about the United Healthcare CEO. We forgot to do that last week. Obviously, there's been a lot of discourse because the internet pretty much on some fuck him.
Fuck dude.
Like, fuck dude. He got shot. He denied all these claims. Nigga, I ain't seen nothing. Burger King put out, I don't know if it was real or not, but if it was, I hope it was. Because the shit was hilarious. Burger King put out a tweet that said, we don't snitch. But people have been having fun, and obviously there are people who are really sincerely affected by the healthcare and how expensive it is, losing loved ones, not being able to afford certain things. They just rolled out something. I forget which provider it is that they're rolling back on anesthesia. It's just very hard to be healthy, right? And a lot of people on the internet are pretty much cheering Luigi, who was accused allegedly. Like I said, we're not accused. It's all alleged. The alleged shooter. They're cheering him on for pretty much being a vigilante, taking things in his own manner, into his own hands. Once again, CEO in this case is the person at top. Downfall's getting cheered on. Jay-Z, with no evidence or anything like that. As soon as you hear it, you're running with the truth. Downfall is preyed on. What do you both think about that? Why is society right now in that space to where they're just looking for the next person to get out of here?
I asked this on Is the Mic Still On Sunday because we were talking about the CEO. Y'all check that out. It dropped on Wednesdays. I think it's social media. People trying to be funny. And there's a lot less, there's a lot less discernment for feelings now if it means you can be more popular individually, is what I sense. Like, I feel like people are willing to sacrifice, I may sound like a mean person or a nasty person, for a retweet or a like. So once you see everybody going in on the CEO, now you want to make your joke. Like, most people that'll talk about it and have comments to it, they don't even know what's going on, I'll say. Like, so I think a lot of it has to do with, oh, everybody's paying attention to this where we are. Let me jump in it too, because I want people to pay attention to me. What say you, Portia?
So, okay, with the Luigi character, I think the Luigi thing and the Jay-Z thing are kind of two separate things. I think
that's what I think about. You're right. You're right. I want to clarify.
I think the
That's what I
Luigi
think
thing
about
is
the
just
Luigi
kind of
thing.
like, yo, I work for a healthcare company. Like, I hear how it's hard for people to get medications and coverage and, stuff like that. So I think that's more like, yo, we finally got kind of our Robin Hood. Like, at least, hey, apparently, like, United Healthcare was doing some deals to cut back and bring some more money up and all of this type of stuff. So I think that's more of a vigilante thing, quote unquote. And we never care about the person who doesn't care about our granny having cancer or whatever. So it's like free Luigi on that end, allegedly. But then on the Jay-Z end, I think because we do like conspiracies because we aren't part of that world. So when we go back and we think of, yo, they said he was sleeping with Foxy Brown. Yo, he back in the day, before he was dreaded up Jay-Z, he was smacking hoes in the club. So I think we enjoy bringing people back down to size, and Jay-Z has become this huge being, and I think people are excited about this news clip because it's like, yo, now we can bring up his bad stuff. Now we didn't really have too much on him. And people be bored. So
he's more of a symbol than he is a person.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you a question. This is specifically for Portia.
Oh shit! What?
Because Portia is a fan of this individual, and I want to know your reaction. What's your thoughts on the way 50 Cent is going about all of this?
Okay, so two ways. One, we know who 50 is.
What did he say about Jay?
He said everything. He always, anytime. So ever since the Puff shit happened, it's well documented, him and Puff's issues. Yeah. But even before anything, anytime he could be on a radio interview, he's like, "Where's Jay-Z? I ain't seen Jay-Z outside. No more brunches, no more dinner."
I didn't know that.
Like, it's every interview he's been in for the past year, he's mentioned Jay-Z's name. It's almost like
he's going on a run now where he's talking about the Super Bowl again. And it's like, damn, that was years ago.
He explained his beef with Puff though, and I feel him on that. He said with Puff, like Puff would have conversations with people who were having conversations with 50 about business deals, and they would tell 50 that Puff would speak on him negatively towards them about business. Like, he's like, it's one thing for rap, but he was like, he jeopardized a lot of deals that I could have gotten or would have gotten, like, because he has powerful friends, of course, and I have powerful friends, but he's telling those people things about me that he shouldn't be saying. So I get him fucking with Puff like
that. Listen, the Puff shit, that's whatever. I think that's a long standing feud, and we all know 50-50. Like, he's been who he is.
Yeah.
If you have any beef with 50, you might as well just take that. That's gonna be going to the grave. But it's almost like, I don't even want to say that because Dame Dash is on another level, but it's a little bit like it's getting Dame Dash lightish. To where, like, everybody now knows if you're going to interview 50, somebody, and I'm not blaming just 50. A lot of this is the interviewers, the same way I say about Dame, like, yo, stop asking this nigga about Jay. Like, that's part of the issue. Like, stop asking him about him. Like, see what else he got going on. But
Dame
now,
said
he was just on, but 50 was just on Cam's. Like, Cam has a new kind of talk show, and they were talking about it in the Super Bowl. I'm just curious, and, Instagram memes, like, he just had one that was reported and taken down because obviously Jay-Z was at the Mufasa premiere because Blue Ivy is she's doing the voice in the film. And he posted a picture like Blue and Beyonce and Jay, like, this nigga got allegations, but he said, you know what? Let's take the family and go see Mufasa. And it got taken down because people, the reason from what I'm hearing, people say, like, reported it was like, yo, like, all right, jokes and shit, man, but leave that girl, leave this underage girl out of it. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, she don't deserve to be involved in your post, whatever the case is. Either way, I'm just curious to know what you thought about the way he's handling it. Because I just went to 50's concerts last year, so I don't.
Oh, me too.
50.
I'm forever a 50 fan. He's like the
Portia. That concert was slapped. That shit went crazy.
Every word. And I went out there and it was like 120 degrees outside too, and it was an outside concert. That's how thirsty I was.
Nah, that shit went crazy.
But I am. But 50 Cent, I don't know. He always been like that, but now I don't know if it's because of age. It just seems corny because it's like, yo, fam, you have money. We know who you are. It's fine. But then it's kind of like, but you never liked them. And y'all always beef. So I think it's just the age part that makes it corny.
Yeah. I think the age on top of he was doing that at first with the how to rob shit, right? Like, I'm controversial. This is what keep me popping. But now we look at it like, bro, you're a successful businessman. Now you don't have to continue to antagonize people. So now it just looks petty when, in a sense, like, yeah, the how to rob was received crazy from people in the industry, but fans like, ooh, that's you know, that's thought provoking. That's what they say on Watch the Throne. It gets the people going. Yeah, so like it was cool then, but it seems corny now because, bro, you got the vodka brand, you got the studio, like you have TV show. Like, why the fuck do you care? And why are you trying to get us to like follow you to care? Like, I'm like, nah, shut up, bro. So I think that's why it comes off corny now. On top of age too, I agree. Oh, he too old to be doing that. But 50 the villain though. There's a respect that I have for him for leaning into just being the villain. Like, fuck y'all, I'm just gonna be the villain every time.
Yeah.
And on top of that, there is some. I will say this, and this whether it's about 50 or anybody else, I respect people being so authentic to where I'm bulletproof. Like, you can't. I would never be in a situation like this because I'll tell them myself before y'all have been known about it. But like I said earlier, even with Jay-Z, I think that's more of a symbol. He's more of a symbol now than he is an individual person, I think, to a lot of people. And you have our era who actually were outside. We grew up with them. And then you have a whole nother era passing. You have people who are 20 years old who literally will go on Twitter and say, I don't understand how Jay-Z is the best rapper. Like, y'all listen to this? Like, I've seen it. And it's just like, all right. Yeah, so it's just like, all right, you reach a point where you're like, I just don't understand this. And like I said, I'm not capable of Jay.
Those people probably listen to Rod Wave, though.
That's the thing. They listen to Rod.
No knock on Rod Wave, but there's a misconception of what a great rapper is for that generation.
Even going back to On Deck, you were talking about the most streamed hip hop acts of 2024. Travis Scott was number 2. I'm personally not a Travis Scott fan.
I took part in that.
So I'm not the biggest Travis Scott fan, but I understand. And Spike, I want to let y'all know, Travis Scott is definitely, because y'all talking about the cold Kanye, he's definitely in that wave. The shoes, everything. He has a chokehold.
Really?
Man, he has a chokehold on people, man.
I thought it stopped after the concert shit, though.
Yeah, right. Man, I think it went up.
Next day, he could announce a concert the next day, and that bitch probably would have had more people. People love Travis Scott. People love Travis Scott, and it's one of those loves that I don't understand. I personally don't understand it, but he connects with them in a certain way. I've heard his shows are great.
Have you ever seen him live?
I haven't, but I heard he puts on a great show.
He puts on a great show. Him and Don Toliver. Oh my god!
I had the benefit of seeing him. I used to go to Revolt when Puff used to have it in Miami, and this was before he got to popping. He was live. To a party? Nah, that's why I was hesitant to say. I went to the Revolt conference. I shouldn't even mention Puff's name. But yeah, I went to the Revolt conference, and this was really early in his career. Me and AB used to go check it out every year. And this dude, it may have been, I'm being generous if I say 30 people there. And he was wilding out, like doing his songs, throwing water in the crowd like it was 100,000 people there. Ever since then, I respected him. Like, I respect what he do because he is into that shit, nigga. I was so impressed by it. Like he was carrying on like again, like it was a stadium full of people. And then like people were just passing by. Like 30 people may have been standing there watching him. So yeah, I respect his live performance.
Yeah, man. But yeah, anyway, like I said, the Jay-Z news, it was more so not about the allegation. We'll see what happens with that. Because I always like to live in the era of, let's get the information first. And then let's start talking about it from there.
I ain't really get to say what I wanted to say about Jay-Z. I think people, they love to see your downfall, of course, as we know. Celebrities say this shit all the time. But I think with Jay-Z specifically, it's like people wonder, like, how can you be good at everything? Like people, they want something to hate on. And this is the scenario, like you said, with Puff. Like, why you even mentioning Jay-Z's name? Because he's a billionaire like Puff is how people try to link them two in together. And then I think that people just hate how successful Jay has been. Like, as he's been in the spotlight since Reasonable Doubt, and we know that whole story of me shopping it around to record labels and no one wants to buy it, to what we see him now is probably one of the most successful rappers ever, married to one of the biggest pop stars ever. No venture he does seems to go wrong. People are waiting to see, oh, that was the flaw. Oh, here it is. It's finally coming out. Just like they're going to do or try to do with LeBron.
And I think Portia just said, I'm sorry, real quick, Pete. Portia said it best too. My pop taught me this at a very, 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 very young age. Talked to me about guilty by association. So sometimes if you give somebody something to run with, regardless if it's okay or not, it might that might look funny in the light to people. And like Portia said, you get on the internet, people talking about, hey, didn't he date Aaliyah? Did he hit Foxy?
And
he 31 and Beyonce 19? Like, it's just one of those things like people are starting to talk about, and it's like,
And I mean, I love Uncle Hove. I'm not, whatever. But just to put some stuff in perspective, a lot of people are saying him and Diddy weren't connected or whatever. But the reality of it is Beyonce stopped that. When they started that whole, when the fight in the elevator came, Beyonce truly said to him before they could get back together, yo, you're not going to no more Diddy parties. You're not doing that. Y'all can't hang together. And then that's kind of when their relationship separated, or he was only at the Diddy parties in the salmon color suit in the daytime. So there was some, remember on 106 and Park, they was holding checks together for Hurricane Katrina. So they were together. There was some business there. I just think Jay-Z knew how to, he's very good at sliding out. And that's why I will always respect him. But like Rich said, I've always said I never want to meet him because you can't be that successful. Now, I ain't saying you sold your soul to the devil or no shit like that, but you cannot be that successful and still be a nice person. You can't be a billionaire and not screw over people. You can't. You can't. So I think that also has something to do with it too. Like we can't figure out what you did, but we got to figure something out. It may not be the 13-year-old girl, but you was probably doing something. And I think that's enticing because he hasn't gotten caught.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything like that, but I do think listen, I forget where I was talking about it, but I just mentioned like Jay-Z is a capitalist. Like, and it's okay to realize that the person that you knew, like when we met Jay-Z, he was a rapper. He spoke for us in the whole nine. He's turned into a capitalist. He's a billionaire.
For sure.
He wanted to be a billionaire, right? It's not like it landed in his lap. That's something he actively pursued it, and now he got it. And you can't become that, to Portia's point. You can't become that without stepping on people along the way. So even venture deals, when they talk about, hey, you'll hear one thing, right? So I think the last thing, and I've already talked on this podcast, I wasn't a big fan of the whole NFL merger. Like, I wasn't a fan of that. I wasn't a fan of that whole rollout, the press conference, any of that. Regardless of what it does for entertainment, I do think it kind of stopped something that could have been bigger than that with Kaepernick. That could have been what it was. It is what it is. Any type of deal that he does in regards to even the Barclays, right? Bringing that back to Brooklyn. Well, they talked about the down effect of people being relocated and pushed out of their houses. Or he just, we saw the report earlier this year about the money that he's given to Philadelphia schools, but it's really about open or school choice, which is, or some people, if you don't know, you can look it up. We won't talk about it here. But school choice is something that is really being harmful to Black kids or brown kids in a sense, and depending on how you want to look at it, right? And that's a whole nother long, complicated conversation. Like I said,
he's trying to get the casino in New York.
Casino in New York. So all of that, yes, it is going to give jobs and stuff back, but there's always going to be somebody who's affected by that one way or another. You know what I mean? Like they always say, behind every great fortune is a great crime. I'm not saying he's a criminal or did anything like that, but there are going to be people who are just like, you know what? Just like the Avengers movies, right? Like we look at the Avengers as the superheroes, but if that was real life, there's a nigga in an apartment like, yo, why you just toss my car on? Like, nigga, I'm broke. And they gonna be like, man, fuck Spider-Man, fuck Iron Man, like, nigga, fuck that nigga. So there's always gonna be those people.
Do a movie about that.
I just don't understand.
Shit, the people affected by the Avengers.
That's the boys.
Yeah, you're right. The boys. No, that's true.
But yeah, I just think that more than anything, like I said, the facts will come out. All that evidence will come out. We'll figure out that in the future. It was just more so I was always curious as to why people are in such a rush to like just, I want to see this person fall. I want to see this industry fall. And that's whether it's the healthcare, whether it's Hove, whether it's whoever the next person's going to be. Very interesting, man. But we'll see how we'll keep an eye on that and see how it goes. We talked about it on our episode about canceling people, man. Listen, he's got to be found severely guilty. I mean, like,
and even still, I'm still listening to everything until he gets convicted.
Yeah, I need the photographic evidence, to be honest.
I listened to Imaginary Players an hour ago. Today. Like, come on, man, what are we talking about?
I listened to Hove today.
Yeah, what are we talking about? But appreciate that conversation. That was good talk about a couple of things that have been going on. But the reason we are here, I'm gonna go ahead and let Portia roll this out.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna let you roll this out because I want to make sure that people have the full scope on why we wanted to talk about it. I'm excited. And what you exactly mean when you sent that text message. So
okay.
Go ahead, Portia. I'm gonna give you the floor.
Okay. I'm gonna set this up for the people who don't know anything about me. Okay. I am not the type of woman that's going to lie to you and say, I wake up and I read a book and I watch CNN and I just care about everything government. I'm not going to tell you that. So, with that being said, I hit up Rich and I asked him, why exactly are Black people not allowed to like Candace Owens? Now, before you answer that, I just want to say, like, when it came to her being, I think she was on Fox News or something like that. Like, again, I don't follow politics that heavy, right? And you know, I know her, T.I. and Killer Mike supposedly had some words with her, but I never tuned into that. The only reason I am tuning into Candace Owens now is because I work from home, I watch podcasts, and my YouTube I guess she has a podcast now. So now my YouTube algorithms is like, yo, Candace Owens, right? And
she has a Patreon. Like, you gotta pay for her podcast. It's $25 a month.
I'm never doing
$25 a month.
But I did see her on something with Nick Cannon. Never a fan of him either. But I was like, I'm gonna listen to this because I want to know why I'm not supposed to like somebody. Okay. In that interview, she didn't say anything I was opposed to. Did I 1000% agree with her? Absolutely not. But I completely understood where she was coming from and her thought process and her why. So I just want to know what y'all know that I don't.
What's an example of something in that interview that she said that may be controversial that people don't agree with that you didn't see a problem with?
Okay.
Do you have anything?
Yeah, of course. So, okay. There is a point in the interview where Nick Cannon, well, let me say the conversation. There's a point in the conversation where Nick Cannon is like, yo, you had an interaction with Don Lemon and you said that trans people are mentally ill and that you ain't with that, right? And she said, okay, and he was like, yeah, but you can't just say that. She says, well, I was asked. That's one. She was asked. And two, she then breaks down like, okay, can a man factually have a child? Does a man have menstrual cramps? Does a man have ovaries? The answer is no. She says, so why is it when I say, I'm not calling you a woman because you are not one, I'm wrong? Now, granted, I get socials and, you know, politically correct stuff. But is she wrong? She was asked. It's not like she's going up to a trans or a gay person and it's like, hell, you're mentally ill. She was asked, she told, that's what she believed. And there's a lot of rappers and a lot of other people that believe this, and we cool with it. So why do we hate her?
So this is an interesting conversation because, like you, Portia,
let me give you one more. Because I feel like the trans with, you know, this audience, they might be like, I mean, well, hell, yeah. So let me give you another one.
Well, real quick on the trans thing, there was a crazy clip when she was talking to
the students,
Mark Lamont Hill. She was talking to Mark Lamont Hill.
I was gonna bring that up 4 years ago,
and she asked that nigga, "Can a man have a baby?" And Mark Lamont Hill, a doctor, a well-renowned, intelligent person, told her, "Yes, a man can have a baby," which was crazy.
That's all I got.
Yeah, that was insane.
What was?
I mean, of course, he went on to explain it that he considers if you saying a trans male can have a baby, then yes, the man can have a baby. Yeah.
Anyway, the other one that I think was probably, so I also looked up some stuff, right? So there is something where Candace Owens is talking about Black Lives Matter and how it was just an economic come up. It really wasn't a movement in that way. And they were taking the money and buying houses.
That did happen.
So was she wrong?
All right. Go ahead, Spike.
I was just gonna give a real brief answer, then I'll jump back in after you, Rich. But the reason I think that the majority of people don't like Candace Owens is because she points out problems and she doesn't offer solutions that are palatable for Black people. Like, she tells Black people that Democrats don't do anything for you. You should be voting Republican. But that really ain't true, because what are Republicans going to do for you? Like, she's very good at, and she come from a well-to-do family. She's very good at pointing out things that affect poor Black people, but she don't really give them a guideline to be like, this is what you should be doing that's relatable or understandable. That's what I would say.
So, all right. So, in context about Candace Owens, because I don't follow her, I'm not a follower of Candace Owens. Obviously, I'm familiar with her, and obviously, I'm aware that Black people specifically, are not a fan of Candace Owens, right? I did a little bit of research on her, and I guess she was a liberal at one point, and I think she explained it that she was an overnight conservative. I'm sure there's more details into what happened and things like that, but it's not like she was always this. She kind of turned into one overnight, and she said, I realized that the Democrats are the ones who are racist and not the Republicans, right? Here's what I'll say to answer your questions about, both of them are
racist. That's the point. That's why people don't fuck with her, because she only giving half of the story.
Well,
but we only give half of the story.
That's fair. And that's why this conversation is interesting, because it's not really about Candace Owens to me. I think it's how we divulge and how people are labeled, because the issue to your question, why are Black people not supposed to like her, is because of when she says things, you look at the people who are rooting for her and applauding her. The people who are rooting for her and applauding her are the people we don't fuck with, right?
Christians.
Not even Christians. I just say the right, the far right. The far right. Far right media, far right figures, and everyone else. To the point where it's like, all right, if you on my side, if they on their side, then I ain't fucking with you. It's almost like if Portia, it's almost like if you met someone, right? Just met someone and like, oh, I heard this person was cool or whatever the case is, and then you meet that person, there's nothing but a bunch of questionable, weird niggas around them. Like, these are your friends, these are ones you call them brothers and shit. Like, damn, maybe you move a little funny, because I know all of them are questionable in the way they move, their antics, their morals, their values, whatever the case is, right? It's just a natural thing, right? It's just a natural thing. Let's take Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the easiest one, right?
Stick to Black people. Stick to Black people, because I'm trying to go somewhere.
No. Here's what I'm doing. I am sticking with Black people. What I'm saying is this: Donald Trump is a lightning rod. So what I'm saying is, if Candace Owens comes out and says something, and Donald Trump is the one saying, "Oh, I agree with that," then black people are going to say, "Oh, she must be fucked up," because this nigga we know we don't fuck with. I think niggas did say that about Lil Wayne.
Y'all was just championing for him to be on the biggest stage in America.
And Kodak Black.
Not me. It is hypocritical. It is hypocritical because I'm not shooting nobody no bill. It is hypocritical. But that kind of goes into the conversation that I think is interesting is not only, A, why do we care? Because I've always strongly thought, like, why do y'all put so much stock into these individuals? It doesn't really matter because people are going to be them, right? And now and I think a lot of it feels inauthentic. Now it feels like she's trolling, and it feels like she has. No. I'm not saying me personally. I'm talking about the general perception of Candace.
Yeah. How?
Because she will feed into conspiracy theories. She's been accused of anti-Semitism. She's been accused of disliking, hating black people.
But what did she say?
Not saying it's true.
But what did she say? Because the only reason I asked for a quote is because before I did my little research and watched my interview and did all that on Candace Owens, I asked my homegirl just on the phone call, "Yo, why don't we like her?" "Oh, I just don't rock with her." "Okay, but why?"
Let's talk about White Lives Matter, right?
To Instagram to tell us that we don't like this black woman, but nobody has taken the time to actually hear what this black woman is saying.
I think her antics sometimes speak up for her. So, for example, White Lives Matter. Have you seen that or anything of that nature? Does that bother you in any way? Just curious.
Did she say that, or
she
did
had
white
a T-shirt
people
on?
Say what?
So I got some
her and Kanye, yeah, she has a T-shirt on that said "White Lives Matter" in support of Kanye.
Oh, with Kanye
got into all his shit, and they had matching T-shirts, took a picture. People saw that. Who the fuck is this woman? Spike, you say you got some quotes.
I can't think of the last Asian that I ran into that talked about internment camps, but black people always want to talk about slavery.
Okay, time.
I give it to you.
Time. Okay, is she wrong?
The reason that Asians, but there's a reason to it though.
Us saying we tired of seeing slave movies. I'm tired of seeing that shit. What's the difference?
You're right. And tired of seeing slave movies. I get that. But the reason the Asians don't talk about it because they have received reparations for that.
The reason that black
people still talk about slavery is because there's never been a reconciliation for it. And we've seen so many people get profit from it. So again, she's not wrong, but I think the reason that people don't like her because she don't go all the way in on the truth. Like she leaves the truth at I'm shining a negative light on black people versus I'm really out here trying to spit truth. Like you can go both ways. Like you can be praised. I've never heard her be praising to black people. And I'm not saying that the stuff that she say is wrong or that I shouldn't agree with it, but I've never heard her say anything like, well, yeah, black people do this right. Like she never does that. And it goes to your point of her leaning into the troll brand versus I'm actually out here trying to kick knowledge because I give a fuck. I think she comes off as really inauthentic in the things that she says because people can tell, oh, you don't really give a fuck about black people. You just out here spewing these things that are true about black people. And what type of mission is you on? Like that, they're confused about her mission.
Okay, but what if her mission, and this just off of what I have researched about her, right? Her mission doesn't seem to be black or white or Asian. It doesn't have, I don't think it's race. She seems to be very Christian based. Like it seems like her viewpoints are very Bible driven.
But there's also something I just said this too. And it's a much larger conversation. So I don't even know if now is the time because there's a lot of layers to it. But there's something going on. There's something to be said about white Christianity in America and what it means. Like when you see the American flag now, when you see them waving off these pickup trucks, it means something else than what other people think of it as. When people are during campaign season, these evangelists are pretty much saying Vice President Kamala Harris is a devil and really making these claims and claiming it under the name of Christianity. I think that that's a whole nother thing. Like I said, that's a whole deeper conversation. So yeah, you're probably right on that. There was also the mosque shooting. If you remember the mosque shooting, and once again, I said she was accused of being anti-Semitic. The shooter had a manifesto and named Candace Owens as an influence and agreeing with her beliefs. So pretty much saying Candace Owens, and obviously she didn't tell him to do this or whatever, so take that for what it's worth. But pretty much named her as an influence as to why he felt the need to shoot up that mosque and kill innocent people and things of that nature. Because of things that she says, because she does support conspiracy theorists, which, listen, there are some things that she says that I'm like on some, I'm not necessarily sure that's true either. Like the moon landing, right? Whatever, small thing. I'm not 100%. I don't have any evidence to say we didn't land on the moon. It just seems a little bit odd. This is one of those things for me, right? The moon landing is just always one of those like, did it happen? Did it not? I really don't care enough one way or another. But there's a lot of other things that go into it. But she feeds into that, and like Spice said, she doesn't tell the full story on things to really understand the other side of it. And I think that's why she puts her opinions out there like they're truth. And I think that's why people dislike her. But to your point, Portia, I get what you're saying, because there are a lot of times where we or Black people, even though we're not a monolith, Black people can do the same thing.
Or just the stuff that Candace Owens is saying, Black men say it all the time, and we are not told to hate them or not support them.
Because she doesn't run. She doesn't run with niggas. That's why. If she ran with niggas, nobody would be saying this about Candace Owens. I guarantee you that.
It seems like Candace Owens runs with Candace Owens and the people in her house.
That's not good enough, though. That's not good enough for the Black community.
Damn.
No, I'm talking about as a whole. Am I wrong? As a Black society, right? Call it fair or not, Black people are gonna look at you funny in the light if you are not around other Black people. Think about a Black, I ain't got no Black friends, married a white husband. Think about how Black men with the white wives are treated. Like, it's just one of those things where you look funny in the light when you ain't all the way. As Rachel always says, you ain't a nigga's nigga.
She's definitely not a nigga.
But I feel like, I mean, now granted, it's not to Candace's extreme, I guess. But what's a nigga's nigga? Because I don't think I'm one.
You a nigga's nigga, Portia. You a nigga's nigga.
What's a nigga's nigga?
You, me, Spike. A nigga's nigga. Like you
it's like when you get the Black. You get the Black joke.
You were unapologetically Black. You were Black.
Like there's some Black people in the room that don't get the Black joke. You get it.
And you understand would never Black culture. You would never shy away.
But am I a nigga? Now I do listen to the show. Am I a nigga's nigga because I ain't mad at Andrew Schultz because I heard about that too. I'm not mad at him.
We need to talk about that because I am like we definitely different. But with her, to Rich's point in your question, a nigga's nigga is the person that understands the Black people in the room, like the Black people that are talking the Black perspective. You know what? When you look at a show, the TV show, and it's Black people on the screen, but when you watching it and you listening to the dialogue, he like, Black people didn't write this. Like a great example is I was telling Rich this about Reasonable Doubt, right? Reasonable Doubt is one of the blackest shows that I've seen. Like from how Jax to respond, I don't know if you watched it, Portia.
No, yeah, I did, yeah.
From how Jax responds to situations with her like, nigga, and just that's a Black show with Black writing. You can look at Blackish is another good example. Those are Black people in the room talking to other Black people, and there are things that are going to go over white people's head and people like Candace Owens' head because they just not tapped into our culture. They Black, but they ain't Black. That don't make sense?
It does. It does.
Rich had to pause. I think Rich had to pause.
Oh, okay. Are we still recording, or should I keep
going?
We are. No?
Yeah, because go keep going because it's up in the screen. Go ahead.
Okay, so I agree, but I don't. And the only reason I say that is because Candace Owens cannot be Black with that horrible perm, okay? And we tell her, but you're not part of the culture. She's Black.
Yeah, but it's like Barack is Black. Yeah, Barack Black because his dad African, but his mom is white and his parents from Hawaii and he grew up in Hawaii. So like he claimed that Chicago shit and he know the terminology of black people, but you still don't have.
So like, he ain't a nigga.
Black, nah, rocking.
Now I'm confused.
To me personally, it's other people that may disagree with me on that. This is a hot take of mine, but like, nah. I read his book, How Thou Art My Father, or whatever it may be. Like, I don't think that a man that has an African father and a white mom who grew up in Kansas and like was raised in Hawaii by his grandparents, I don't think you have an actual black man experience in America. That's not true.
My fault, y'all. My headphones went out, so I missed about a good 2 minutes of the conversation. So I don't know what Portia said, but I got cut off right when we was talking about the niggas conversation. Hold on, I was just so back up. Hold on, so time out real quick. So real quick, I gotta ask you this, Portia. Mm-hmm. Do you just feel that there's no black people you ever looked at and be like, like you never had the black person, like, let's go back to Princeton High School, right? There wasn't a black person that always hung out with the white people. Never had any black friends. Like he was just kind of they token, he or she were kind of they token, and just never really hung with black people, never associated with them, never really chose Oreo or never chose to embrace their blackness, right? Not even halfway, because there's nothing wrong with being on the other side, but literally just saying it's no different than when people say, like, hey, some of my issues with black men interracial dating is the fact that it's not the fact that they date outside the race, it's the fact that they explicitly say, I will not date, I only date white women, I only date this person, right? It's more so that. So that's what I mean. It's more so like I'm ignoring this whole part of me to appease to another side. And I think that as a whole is why black people do not fuck with Candace Owens. Because once again, the people that are rooting for you are the people I dislike. And that says more about you, that these people fuck with you and always had so many bad things to say about me. All right, you look at all these politicians that was on the Republican side, and I'm telling you, this isn't Kieron's thoughts. This is more so looking at everything as a whole and looking at the picture and being like, damn, like that's what it is. Because there are people, I think everybody needs to do a better job of being able to just disagree with people and be like, all right, man, that person's saying something I don't agree with, but people could disagree. Charleston White, for example, right? Charleston White is someone who I am not a fan of. But every now and then
see.
Well, all right, hold on. Time out. Before I answer that, why are you a fan of Charleston White? Or are you a fan? That's fair. Are you?
I'm not gonna say. I think fan is a little bit much, but I did watch something because I don't like to go with the hype of people just don't like this person. I like to figure out if I like the person or not.
As you should.
Charleston White said to me, well, to the camera, he said, "Yo."
Nah, he was speaking directly to Portia. Hey, that connected with Portia's soul. He felt that shit in her soul.
He said, truly, he said, sometimes I know what I'm saying is extreme, right? But the people that I am trying to reach, the people that I'm trying to talk to, only hear a certain dialect, only hear me saying something. So I have to grab your attention. And then if you listen, I'm making sense. And Charleston White sometimes makes sense. Does he make sense on the 30-second clip? No, because his way to bring you in is in that 30 seconds. His real talk was 31 seconds to 60 seconds. And people aren't taking time to actually say, oh, I'm going to just go see what this is about.
What I will say about Charleston White, I was just going to say real quick, what I will say about him is there's footage of, and he's told stories of, when I was trying to take the correct approach of doing this and being a community activist, no one would listen to me. Mm-hmm. Like Killer Mike tells the story of, like, I seen the video of this nigga before he blew up with the dusty pants, dusty shoes on. Like, you could tell he wasn't a successful person. Since he made the switch, and like you just said, Portia, I started mixing the medicine in with the candy. I started catering to these niggas and calling out these rappers. Now he got the big boy chain on. You can tell he getting money. He charging this and that for an appearance fee. So Charleston White don't offend me as much as a Candace Owens because I see the play. I see what you're doing. It wasn't working one way. You got to throw a little bit of this on there to make it work. I don't like his approach. I don't like it because it is so obvious for people that are paying attention. But I do get him more than I do a Candace Owens because I can't tell her play, her end game. I don't know who she's catering to because white people don't fuck with her no way.
I honestly think she catering to Bible thumpers. Whether because we know some Black Bible thumpers.
That's true. I could see that. But
like
the crazy part about that, I don't think that demographic is big enough for her to take these stances that she take about Black people. Because you gonna if she's an intelligent really Black woman, I think she do. I think she's being genuine. I don't think she. I think Charleston White is acting. I think she's being genuine. But I think that she's not taking into consideration different points of view. Like she's so adamant about like Black people, the famous phrase that Republicans use and racists use, pulling themselves up by their bootstraps. Like she's so adamant against like reparations and things that should be it should be a real conversation that's had in the Black community. But she's like, nah, that's lazy, or that's this and that's that. But she don't go all the way into the effects that it has had. Like she tried to leave half of it off. Again, I've said it 3 times now, not to repeat myself, but that's the problem that you have with her. Like her message is so convoluted. Like it ain't clear who she's talking to. And then I think that turns more people off than it turns on.
I want to rewind just a little bit because I know you got something to say, Portia. When I brought up Charleston White, one of my issues, and this is something that I think we all need to be better at. When I say we, I don't mean the 3 of us. I mean just people in general, right? So I'm talking to so with me personally, this is something that I've acknowledged that this is a me thing when it comes to Charleston White, right? Because there are things that Charleston White says, I'm like, all right, he got a good point. And as you said, I know that he's flipped it and done things, but there's also things that I just personally morally don't fuck with. Him getting on lives and being like, man, fuck Nipsey Hussle, fuck that nigga, like, or certain people who have died and pretty much shitting on their name, dogging their name, saying fuck them. I would kill them myself. I hope they bring them back to life so I can kill them. That's just shit I can't fuck with. I don't play like that. I don't think that's cool, regardless of what kind of effect you're doing. And listen, if you do that, that's cool. I know people that fuck with Charleston White think that's just hilarious. That's cool. I'm not gonna stop fucking with them or being friends with them because they think that. That's just me personally being like, nah, you know what? I can't go that far. That's not something I fuck with, regardless of what message you're putting out. You know what I mean? But let me give him some fairness because I want to tell the whole truth. The reason he says stuff like that is because he says there are rappers, and let's take Nip out of it, but just any rapper, let's say King Von, for example, right? He's the one that said Quando Rondo, whoever the dude that was with Quando Rondo that shot King Von. He says, man, he should get a reward. He brought him on to interview him. Mm-hmm. You a hero, this, that, and the third, because
King Von was a serial killer.
Yeah, he was a serial killer. He's a menace, right?
Yeah.
His issue is that he feels like some rappers are glorifying certain lifestyles and really doing more harm to the community. I'm not saying he's wrong. However, speaking on the dead in a certain way, saying fuck this person in a certain way, especially people, once again, to Spike's point, I think a lot of it has to do with telling the whole story. Yes, people might be doing that because they're recounting things of their life, but you're also not talking about all the great things that they did to help Black people, community, or poor people, whatever you want to call it, whatever group of people. And even with this conversation, right? I keep talking about like, hey, niggas, and stuff like that. That might be something that we have to get away from as a people. That might be something.
Yeah, I don't think it.
We need that.
I don't think it's. I'm
not going to get away from
it.
But
don't let me get on that rant. We don't protect nothing.
We need gatekeepers.
And that's why Andrew Schultz can talk. That's why Post Malone can come in and come out. We are not done with Schultz.
We done with Schultz.
How? Why?
Like, because
a moral thing. It's for me a moral thing. I'm not speaking for everybody, but he just reached a line where I'm like, I can't fuck with you, bro.
I can't do like I'm not listening to you. I'm not listening to you sit up there and talk about you can rape a Black man because he's smaller than you. Like that's like that's yeah, that ain't funny.
When you know the history of buck breaking and stuff like that, that's not funny.
With the buck breaking documentary that shout out to Tariq Nasheed, like with all of this stuff that people that know about it know as far as what they used to do to slaves and how they used to make them look in front of their family by doing exactly what he suggested. Andrew Schultz, I listened to Brilliant in his podcast for years. I know that he's smart enough to know that this ain't a joke. Like he being for real. Like he knows the history of what he's saying, and he's trying to guise it as, "Oh, I'm just a joke. I'm bigger than him." Like, no, bro, you know exactly what it means when you say what you will do to Kendrick Lamar because he's smaller than you. Like that's I can't do it. I can't.
But I'm also not gonna get on social media and say fuck Andrew.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck about.
He can say what he wants to say. I'm not fucking with it.
Andrew Schultz is not big enough in our community for anybody to stand on a soapbox and be like, we not fucking with him. Like white people fuck with Andrew Schultz. There was a select group of black people that fuck with him because he has the
I went to his
podcast
comedy
with
show when he
Charlamagne.
came down here.
I would go to his comedy show. He's funny. I don't take nothing away
I guess
from that.
I didn't take it
fuck with him.
personally. I didn't take it personally because
I think black men took it differently from that.
He jokes about everybody, every race, every gender.
Yeah.
And I also appreciate comedy. So
I do too.
From every
What
clip.
was funny about it though? What was funny about him saying I want to rape you or I could fuck you to another man?
Right. Nothing nothing is funny about it. However, men say I guess I'm not that sensitive.
White men say shit like that. And that's my point in him not being inclined with our culture for us to give a fuck enough about it. Like Rich said, white men joke around like that. Black men don't joke like that. And you can call it homophobic or whatever you want to call it, but we just don't joke around like that. So for him to come around and say, oh, you're a little dude, I could fuck you if I wanted to if me and you was in the same room, like that's insane for us to hear, especially knowing the history of buck breaking and stuff.
Okay.
It's like it's drawing a line. It's just drawing a line. I'm like, I bet. Like you're letting me know who you are, and that's cool.
Yeah,
I have nothing else to say. I ain't got about like I'm not tweeting. Yeah. I'm not about to be outside your show boycotting. I'm not about to look at you crazy. Even Portia, you fuck with him. I'm not about to sit here all Portia. Cool. I look at you different now. Cool, that's cool. But personally, that's just something. And like I said, that's a personal decision. I personally just don't fuck with that because I think you mean something more about that. And you playing,
and you know
trying to be slick with it.
Like you smart, exactly. Yeah. And that's the offensive thing that he does. He's trying to be slick with it because I believe that he thinks that most black people aren't aware of the history of buck breaking. So him coming out telling that joke is being secretive, is being slick. And again, as Rich said, like, bro, I would have went to an Andrew Schultz comedy show prior to this. Because again, I listen to Brilliant in the podcast. I tried Flagrant 2. I ain't really fuck with that. I listen to him on Joe Rogan when he come on there because I'm a Joe Rogan. Like I listen a Joe Rogan listener. Like I don't think that Andrew Schultz is a bad person, but I personally now can be like, I don't fuck with dude. Like I can personally avoid all of his shit now, which I wouldn't have it beforehand.
And granted, that's your right. I guess with these examples that I'm bringing up, the Candace Owens, the Andrew Schultz and stuff like that, I think the bigger issue is just like, as a black community, as a culture, we never can agree on anything. We never hear somebody out. We always have a gatekeeper of who is telling us who to fuck with and who not. We never take the candy and leave the bullshit. It's always something. It's either or it becomes like black woman versus black man. Why can Candace Owens can't say this, but Kanye can say the same thing? Why can't Chrisette Michelle get her money at a inauguration, but people can be walking hand in hand with Trump and they're black men? I just think it becomes a whole conversation, and I just don't feel like it's fair to invite people into our culture and then tell them that they can't have something to say. Stop bringing their ass in here.
Well, hold on. First of all, that's my whole issue. I've said this for years. I hate that cookout shit. I hate it.
Yeah.
Like, stop giving people, because Portia, all right, maybe a month or two ago, you posted the dancing weatherman nigga and said how much you dislike him.
I hate him.
And when he first came in, and that's exactly why, because he's doing something that we've been doing forever. We don't get any kind of special praise for it because he's a white dude that can dance. Now everybody, he invited to the cookout. I hate that shit. Like, let's make some spaces for us to where we can just be us and the whole nine. Now, there was a point I was going to make about, what the fuck was I just going to say about that? I do think we need to do a better job of just being able to let things be. Because like I said, I personally don't care. I don't listen to anybody telling me who I should and should not listen to. I know for damn sure Spike don't, because shit. So sometimes before we start recording, Spike listening to R. Kelly. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he got it on in the background. And I'm a big component. We talked about this on our last episode that you were on, Portia. I'm a big component of being able to separate the art from the artist. It ain't that deep to me. And it ain't even really, it's more so just, all right, you showed me this. And Portia, and I'm really, all right, so, because I know you. And I know you one of those people. As soon as somebody does something funny, you put them in a different category.
It depends on the funny.
No, I'm talking about funny. No,
okay.
Hold on. Time out.
It depends on the funny. If
all right, so hold on, time out, real quick before you give your example.
Wait.
What I mean is, I don't mean it has to be all the way over there, like you dismiss them out of life. But the side eyes there is noted. It's something that you know, and you can be like, all right, and let me keep a better eye on this person because I've seen how you move in this situation. Because if you do it to me, it's gonna be an issue. All I'm saying is that puts you on notice, right? That means the clock is running to see who are you for real, and are you gonna continue this bullshit? Because if you are gonna continue it, I'm not that type of person. I don't play like that, and I ain't fucking with you. And
so
I think that's what's
funny.
Some of the fun for Candace
and that's the thing for Andrew shows. He did something where I'm just like, I don't fuck with. There's a lot of things that he does that's funny. I've listened to Brilliance. I've listened to shows the whole nine. That in particular, I'm just like, nah, bro, I can't fuck with. And for real, I think a lot of the anger comes from the black people around him. That's not saying anything.
That's the bigger issue for me.
So that's who y'all, and that's all I'm saying.
The big issue for me with Charlamagne.
You just proved my point.
Well, no, I'm just more mad at Charlamagne. I'm just more mad at Charlamagne than I am at Andrew because I expect a white dude to be a white dude. I expect that. But the fact that he's garnered this platform, yes, he has talent. Yes, he does. I know he's gotten on this platform off the merits of his comedy, but there's also some Charlamagne contributed to that as well. Like him lending his voice, the podcast. I think that Andrew got more popular with Brilliance Idiots podcast and doing a podcast with a radio person who syndicated in who knows how many markets. Like there was a benefit of him doing that podcast with Charlamagne. And then he started putting out great clips. He started doing great social media stuff with his comedy. And then people understood, oh shit, he's funny. And then he went on Joe Rogan and he just blew up. But I do think that he's benefited from being a friend of Charlamagne's, and Charlamagne never takes the opportunity to be like, hey, bro, you probably off on this. He always leans towards, oh, you're a comedian, so you got the right to do that. But comedians don't have the right to do everything, bro. Like everything ain't sacrificed in the name of funny. Like at some point in time, you should speak up and be like, nah, you're going a little too far. Like when he was having that dialogue with black women, those two dudes that were sitting about black women, that were sitting there listening to it, I don't expect them niggas to say nothing. These British / like lame ass, Shane Batty ass.
See, and that's where we get into. That's where it gets crazy because now it's Black American, now it's Black European. They think different than us.
I don't even consider what they got to say. But right to your point, I don't even care that them niggas didn't say nothing.
You should.
It's a nigga. I don't know them niggas.
Hold on, tell me why. I gotta ask why Portia.
Because if we are I guess I'm just living in the reality of it. This isn't even me caping for Andrew shows. Anybody white that's part of it, right? If we are allowing them in the space, if there are black people in the space with them real time, not saying nothing. If, for example, if you own like 50-60% of Apple stock, right? You would think that you are able to go in there and be like, I want the color of the phone this way. Y'all should add this app. Y'all shouldn't do this because you put stock into it and they let you into the company. That is what is going on with all these white people. And when they say a joke about anybody else, it's all hee ha ha. But now when they say something about black people, it's this huge issue. And we continue to let them in the space. That makes no sense. Well, be mad at us.
Okay, so let's say you invited me to the crib and you say, hey, no shoes on in my crib. And I say, fuck that. Get my shoes on. I Charlie Murphy your couch. Mm-hmm. You invited me in your space. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. I'm fucking up your couch. I'm doing everything like that. I'm sure at that point you're going to be like, you know what? Fuck this nigga. Get him out of here. You're not welcome in my space anymore because you did something that violated. That's something that I told you not to do. Or something that even if you didn't tell me, set that out.
Understood. Something that should be, and that's the thing about the space.
I think that's a different example though. If I'm inviting you into my house, we have already established the rules. I already know who you are. You know who I am. You do that, then of course, I'm checking you while you're in my house. However,
and I'm saying fuck that. I don't care what your house rules are, nigga. I'm keeping my shoes on.
Okay, then I'm gonna kick you out. However, my point is, if I tell you to come into my house and I'm allowing you to do whatever. I tell you don't do this and you still on my couch or whatever. My next door neighbor ain't about to knock on the door and say, hey, get out of Portia's house. That she has no right. So I guess my whole thing is with Andrew Schultz, brilliant idiot, flagrant, Alex with his painted nails sitting there, allowing people to talk about Black women or Black culture, period. In his house, he allowed it. How dare we go to flagrant and say, hey, you can't say this when the person whose house it is allowed it?
I don't think anybody should tell anybody what they should and should say.
That's the way. Wait, real quick though. That's the difference. That's not Alex's house though. Alex worked for Schultz, so
he can walk
there's
out.
a lot more. Yeah, but what you, and again, this goes to the history of Black people. What he putting on the line if he walk out? Like, what is life like if he walk out and he like fuck Andrew Schultz? Because that dude got a whole career, like being a cameraman.
Okay, so we can be bought.
He built his career. Yeah, he's been bought. We've seen it.
Okay,
like,
so
the
Black
only
people
reason
can be
I feel
bought.
like,
so how are we mad?
But that's why I blame Charlamagne more so than I blame someone like Alex, because Alex can sit there and be like, well, that's my boss. Like, there's a lot of leeway your boss is going to get because this is the person that's affecting your livelihood. Charlamagne and Andrew have a different scenario where, like, Andrew don't really affect Charlamagne's livelihood. So Charlamagne can be the nigga that tells him, hey, bro, that was too far. But Charlamagne always leans,
on the cool Alex Media. He produces and has his own thing. He produces hella podcasts, so he could say,
you know how
hey,
that got
Andrew,
to fruition.
I don't want to.
That got to fruition from Andrew giving him the look, though. Like, he's all like, Andrew gave him.
So we're mad at the white person, but we're not mad at the Black people who are us that's able to be bought.
No, I'm mad at him.
That's all I'm saying.
I'm mad.
I mean, I'm mad at him, but I can't blame him because that's his livelihood.
And mad ain't even right.
Oh, that's
I don't get mad.
That's his livelihood, though. Like, I get him sitting there laughing. I'm blaming more people like Charlamagne, or I'm blaming the morals. I'm blaming more so somebody like a Charlamagne.
So it's levels. It's levels to giving a fuck.
It is levels to it. It's levels to it. Like, I blame a Mark Lamar Hill who's talking to Candace Owens and saying, yeah, men can have babies. Like, bro, what are you doing? Like, there's no reason that you have to sit up here and say this because you don't believe this. And then you got to go into the context about, well, yeah, because it's like, bro, shut up. Same thing with Charlamagne saying that, oh, these are comedians and they should be able to do what they want. Like, no, you don't get free reign just because you're trying to guise it as a joke, just like the shit with Andrew. Like, you trying to do this buck breaking shit with Kendrick and make it look like, oh, well, at the end of the day, I'm a bigger man than him, so I can fuck him and everything he's saying is irrelevant. Like, that's bullshit. That's not any, that ain't even a valid argument. And for someone like Charlamagne to sit there and listen to it, I don't know if that was in the same clip, but for him not to even address it when he did talk to him on Brilliant Idiots, it goes a long way to like, y'all niggas is bullshit. Charlamagne specifically.
And I think specifically the term mag, I'm not like, I personally don't care. It's more so just like, all right, you made this decision and this is my decision in reaction to that. Like I said, I'm not about to be protesting. I'm not about to be trying to cancel anybody. I don't believe in that shit. Like, Andrew Schultz has the right to do anything he wants to do, say whatever he wants to. The same way I have the right to say, you know what, I'm not fucking with that. Right? The same way. And listen, and we have to admit that it's going to be more personal when it hits home. And that's a deeper conversation. I don't even want to go there. But it's gonna hit personal when you hit home, right? There's shit that's funny. And there's a lot of shit that I laugh at about Black people that there might be other Black people that say, oh, that ain't funny. Nah, that shit funny to me. You know what I mean? But for the most part, I think it's more so about there's a certain acknowledgement. And I think all of this ties back to that, right? We talked earlier about the Black experience, Black Americans in particular. I always tell this story. I never forget there was an episode of The Shop. There was an episode of The Shop where Seth Rogen was on there. Seth Rogen's Canadian. So Rogen said, in Canada, if you go to a game, if you go to a sporting event, a professional sporting event in Canada, before the game starts, the announcer will come on and say, hey, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get the game started. But before we do, we just want to acknowledge that we are on an indigenous land. This is indigenous land that was owned by a certain group of people before that. We just want to take a quick second, acknowledge that, take maybe 5 seconds, moment of silence too. And it's more so of the acknowledgement. All of these things that's happened to us has never been acknowledged, right? If Andrew Schultz came out and wanted to have a conversation about what he said, he could have ended that conversation still feeling the same way he did, said the same way he did. But to dismiss what people are angry about or upset about, I can't rock with that, because at that point, you're not working in good faith. You can believe what you want to believe. I'm cool with that. But if you can't at least say, all right, then obviously this upset people. Because if I do something that I'm not sure why I upset you, the first thing I want to do is say, yo, what happened? What did I do? So I can understand better. We might end that conversation where I say, hey, you sensitive, fuck you. But at least I took the time to understand, if I'm sincere about it, what it was that was the issue. And I think that's probably a big part of what's going on. He's still doubling down on the jokes and making this a big deal, bro. Like, you bigger
Now,
than
did
that.
y'all hear? Did y'all listen to the whole Brilliant Idiots episode, or are we just going off clips?
I cut it off after I heard him say I would rape him, and I'm in the same room with him. He couldn't stop me from having sex with him. Like, I'm out of there.
Okay, so I guess that's where the disconnect is, and I guess that's kind of what my point is, and what the point of why I kind of want to bring back the frequency is, because we are going off internet clips. We are going off, we're not even hearing people out. Like, granted, that Brilliant Idiots episode, it was like, all right, Andrew, get your little white boy jokes off, but I need to hear some. And then finally he truly did explain, like, yo, that wasn't even what this is. Like, I am a comedian. And he goes through this whole 5-minute Andrew Schultz. Like, we know Andrew Schultz, why we ended up respecting Andrew Schultz and watching him. He gets into his, okay, let me stop clowning, let me say what's real. Okay, Taylor, Nyla, what you got? Let's have this conversation. But that's the only thing. Like, we gotta stop with the clips, and that goes with Candace Owens too. Like, she got some points, man.
No, listen, you're right. Cause and I'm gonna let you go, Spike, real quick. We just talked about this a couple episodes. I literally just went on a rant a few chapters back talking about context matters, and we really need more context. I used a funny example of the whole Mark Jackson knock it out the park with Savannah, that whole thing, and how context matters. You know who Mark Jackson is, right?
I don't think where would I know.
He used to be an NBA player. He was a commentator. He was an NBA coach.
Oh no.
There was this funny moment online where he said he's talking about LeBron James' wife Savannah, and all you hear for years, ever since 2016, people hear that comment. He made a comment saying, "I can't believe you said Savannah's all city. She's all world, and I'll knock her out the park. All due respect." And if you just hear it for that, you think that he talking about hitting his wife.
What the hell?
Exactly. I can't remember what chapter it was.
Though.
He's talking about baseball. Savannah used to play softball. But for years, people took that clip and said, oh, Mark Jackson, wow, and talking about Savannah like that without hearing the whole clip. And that's an example we used a few chapters ago. Let me ask you this. And you, like I said, I wanted to say that because you're 100% right. That's a hypocrisy in humanity, because I did not listen to the whole interview. I should have listened to the whole interview, and it is what it is. I also feel like there's a point where you just stop listening to people.
I disagree with that. I think that's on Schultz, though. You have to get to the point quicker. You are an entertainer. You know how this shit goes. Like, if there's going to be stuff that can be clipped off to where you sound crazy, you need to make it a point as an entertainer, as a comedian, as a podcaster, to make sure that those clips don't come out as crazy as they coming out right now. Like, he did that on purpose. He knew that shit was going to be clipped. Like, like, I just think he's trying. I don't like it because it's ingenuine. If he came flat out and said what the fuck he was trying to say, then I would.
So he didn't do it your way, so he's disingenuous.
Not even my way, just in a way that was more like, it's like
you still playing. Like, we serious right now, and you still playing.
Exactly.
How many times do we play, though?
People look at
Portia,
salesmen.
How many times do we play?
Who?
And
real shit?
No, what I'm saying is, like, nobody
you
in
that
room with him. Okay, nobody in that room with him was upset at that time, because they know Andrew. They probably already done talked to him. So nobody in that room was upset with him. So yes, he could get his jokes off. He was in a comfortable environment. Now, granted, I don't know this man. I
employ all these people. They're not going to object to what
I don't think that's true. Me personally, I don't think that's true. But at the same time, I feel like if he was at a live show and it was black women with picket fences and black men with tape over their ass to prove a point, I think he would say, yo, sorry, off rip. But it's kind of like, okay, well,
this might be apple and oranges, but when you saying that, it reminds me of Remember the Titans, right? In the movie Remember the Titans, there's a moment where Petey and Sunshine, they're at this restaurant, and it's clearly a white-only restaurant, right?
Okay.
And Sunshine is also like, let's go in, and all the blacks is like, nah, I don't know about that. And Sunshine not forces them. Obviously, they have free will. But he's like, nah, it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be cool, man. I promise, we good. And they go in and they get kicked out, right? And the nigga Petey looked at him like, I told you this was gonna happen. So the point was, like, bro, you did not listen to me when I told you how serious this was. And now I think that's what a lot of things is. Like, there's maybe the people in that room did not care. You're absolutely right. They did not care about what Schultz says. They know him personally. We all just talked about how that works, right? Portia, you could say some ill shit and the whole world could be on your ass, but I know you to the point where like, whatever. Yeah. Portia just talking to shit. I think it's more that he just didn't, and it's hard because you are a comedian, you're gonna get your jokes off. Maybe lead with it and then get your jokes off. Whatever. Do your thing. Andrew Schultz, do your thing. It's whatever.
Yeah, it's like, again, this ain't to the point where I'm gonna protest or say that Andrew Schultz is a racist. Like, I'm not saying any of those things. I'm just saying what he did was too much for me personally. I don't give a fuck if people still listen to him. I don't care if he's still popular. None of that matters to me. I just don't look at him the same from a personal perspective. He can make that decision, and I do think it was a conscious decision that he made to take it the direction that he took it in. And since I feel like that was a conscious decision, that's why I don't fuck with him. If I felt like that he was oblivious to the fact and he didn't know the shit about buck breaking and he didn't know what he was actually saying, yeah, I could be like, okay, that's Schultz being Schultz and he's trying to be funny. But I don't value that to be true because I know that he's smarter than that because I've been a fan of his previously to this.
I'm curious about something real quick, and Portia, I'm curious about something. Just in general. If Kendrick sent the homies to pull up on Andrew Schultz, slap fire out that man, will he be in the wrong? Is that something taken too far? Or let's take Kendrick and let's take the situation out of it. Let's look at the Oscars. Let's look at Will Smith slapping Chris Rock. Chris Rock for years have been saying stuff that is out of pocket, and for whatever reason, whether we agree or not, for whatever reason, in that moment, Will Smith said, "You know what? Nah, bruh, I'm not going. Fuck that. I'm about to do something about it." Okay. There's a lot of people that was upset at Will Smith for smacking Chris Rock. I didn't care at all. I understood it. All right, man.
Did you?
Worth it.
That's how. Because here's the thing. Because here's why. Here's the why. It has nothing to do with me. That's how that man felt in that moment. And if that's how he felt and that's how he wanted to handle it, it is. I was more so. I always laugh because of Chris Rock's reaction. Like, that shit was always insane to me because there's no way. Yeah. Like I always say, the Oscars would have been shut down. That shit. Matter of fact, the Oscars probably still wouldn't be on the air. That's a perfect example.
That's a perfect example of not a nigga's nigga. Chris Rock is not a nigga's nigga because there's no way that would have went down like that if he was a nigga's nigga. That's a perfect example. Like, no nigga's nigga is letting that ride. I don't give a fuck if we at the Oscars. You're not walking up on me and smacking me and then walking back to your seat.
But you just said that was his. But you were just talking about that's somebody's job. That was his job. So he was supposed to ruin Chris Rock. Yeah. So that was supposed. So he was supposed to ruin his job and his reputation.
Niggas gonna ruin his job. Yeah, we doing. Yeah, we ruining all. I'm doing. Oh, so like niggas say, I'm shooting all this shit up.
So a niggas is someone who cuts off his nose to spite his face.
Yes.
Well, I never want to be a nigga's nigga. I'm cool.
Unfortunately.
I'm cool.
That's how it works.
I'd rather be black. Don't nigga me.
Time out.
Black me. Don't nigga
me. Stop it. Hold on.
That was a good chess move.
Angie Martinez.
Yeah.
Says, hey, I have this award show. I have this television live award show. Portia, I want you to host this shit.
Yes.
I can't even think of somebody you don't like, but whoever you don't like comes on stage and slaps fire out you, Portia. What you doing? You gonna keep it professional? I'm just curious.
How big is the bag?
Portia.
How big is the bag? Because I can always catch you after. Rick, I can catch you after.
Hey, this is the great thing about podcasting with people that you know, though, because Rich know you. Rich know you, Portia, and I got a pretty good understanding of you. You ain't letting no chick walk up and smack you.
No,
I don't give a fuck about the bag.
And the clip is gonna live forever. 5 years from now, niggas gonna repost it and say, "I remember that time Portia got slapped." You're gonna get hot every single time. You're not letting that happen.
It depends on the bag. It depends on the bag. I'm always getting you afterwards.
But it really does depend on the bag.
All right, let me ask you this then. That's cool. That's perfectly fine. Is there anything in you, just the same way we talked about the frequency at the very beginning of this episode? Like, damn, do you ever sit back and think, are you telling me right now that even after, all right, you can get your lick back after that, but there's gonna be a day where you sitting up and be like, I can't believe that video exists. I can't believe I let that woman slap the fire out of me in front of the whole world.
Yes.
Are you willing to live with that versus just being like, you know what, fuck this bag, I got to get my shit right? Or let me be fair to Portia. I don't think Portia even let somebody approach her on that shit. Like, I think her guard would be up. Like,
the guard would be up.
He's a nigga's nigga. He's a nigga's nigga, and that's Chris Rock, not a nigga's nigga. He let him get too far with even like setting himself, and that's the perfect thing about what we're talking about.
Who would think that Will Smith's corny ass was coming up there?
You walking up here towards me.
Anybody approach me like that, I ain't going.
Nigga. I don't know what you got going on, bro. Like, you ain't getting that close to me. So
give me my 3 feet, bro. Why are you walking up? And you got to think, Chris Rock knew that's not a part of the show. So I'm even more on alert because what the fuck is, we didn't know what was going on, but he knew.
Being a nigga's nigga. That's not being a nigga's nigga. Will Smith is a nigga's nigga.
Either way, and that's cool. But Portia, I know you're not letting that shit slide. And I know you say you can get your lick back after, but like I said, a year from now, a day from now, you're gonna get pissed off. At your phone going off and people saying, damn, or somebody you care about and respect being like, I can't believe you let her smack you like that. And you're like, well, I did it for the bag.
Chris Rock about that?
Yeah, I would. I would. Yeah, absolutely. I think they are.
Absolutely.
People, his friends still get asked about it. Like, so his Adam Sandler, all that they get. Adam Sandler was on Joe Rogan. He asked him about the slap. Like, you know what I mean? It's gonna be something that gets by. That nigga slapped him, sat back down in the seat, cussed him out, then accepted an award. He gave it a speech. Like, nigga, there's no way the Oscars will still not be on. They still be on tape delay. If I was me,
they would have had to go to previously recorded programming. If I was Chris Rock, like y'all gotta end it. This over. Like this whole the award.
So y'all are in support of Will Smith going up there though.
What I'm saying.
I am.
Why?
If that's my wife, and my wife is offended like that, and that goes back to what we talked about very early in the beginning, talking about relationships and things like that. Like, if I feel like if you're in a relationship, that's how committed you have to be for it to work.
Shit.
Like, if you genuinely getting the payoff of that other person, you need to feel like that about them. Like, well, I'm going to war for this person. She looked at me. You looked at me and she like, it's over.
Not no Jada Pinkett.
Hold on, talking about Portia. You just said you cannot be with somebody who you just seen get beat up.
That's different.
Portia, how? If somebody was making fun of you at a show in front of all of our peers, and I'm
a comedy show,
it ain't a comedy show. This is an
if he was doing comedy.
But this is an award show. Nigga, stop playing. But still, and again, that's to the point. This is an award show. Nigga, stop playing with me. Ain't nobody here to see your act. You go here, you hand out the fucking awards, and you do what you're supposed to do.
Every award show.
Don't play with me though. Don't play with me or my wife.
I'll say this: if my brother Aaron was Will Smith, I would have cussed Aaron the fuck out, because don't you ever defend a bitch who don't ever defend you, who don't even like you, who don't do shit for you. That is horrible. No, Will Smith is he's a corny nigga for that.
You speaking from a woman's perspective now on how you feel about Will Smith versus
I should be speaking on a man's perspective too. Why you slapping a nigga for a bitch who don't like you?
But that's his wife.
What you're saying is not incorrect, but it is a different conversation.
Yeah, it's a different conversation. Like, you right. I ain't disagreeing.
You are right, Portia. You were right. I want to acknowledge that, but it's a different conversation.
Facts. I'm still a man, this still my wife, and you still talking to my family. Yes, nigga, you gonna get the shit smacked out of you if I look over and she not laughing at that joke and looking at me like, why you not doing nothing about this? She did not. She looked at that nigga like, why is he talking about me up here? He been talking about me for years backstage. Now this nigga bringing it to the biggest stage.
I'll just say that.
That's fine.
I cannot stand. I don't really care for it either.
You right, but in the same place, like, I understand what Will Smith was coming. Like, you're not gonna play with me like this, bro. And you, Chris Rock, nigga, I'm Will Smith. Like, you're not gonna play with me in front of all these people, bro. And my wife is
played with in front of I don't know. Whatever. I guess.
But that's the thing, Portia. That's a perfect full circle moment. He does that shit in front of the right people. I think it's perfectly okay. And like the same way it's okay for you to say, I'm cool with shows. Everything you saying is correct. And the thing I love about Another Week in the Books, honestly, because we can have a chapter like this and there can be a follow-up episode. I just mentioned earlier, I would love to have a follow-up episode about Spike's thoughts. Yeah, several conversations. So this is not going to be the end of it. There's been multiple times in just these 14 chapters, but we'll have a talk and there's layers to it. And you know what? There's going to be a part 2 to this, so we can discuss this further. Sure. No different than Spike just being on some like, hey, I don't see the benefit of having a partner. I think that's a great conversation for having somebody come on who might be able to talk to him and have a better conversation about it. Right? Hey, Spike. Hey, Spike. Shout out to Spike, man. But I think I think everything you're saying is correct, Portia. You're not wrong. And I do believe people should kind of, in a lack of better terms, live and let live, right? Like I said, I'm not a fan of the people who good online. The same way I talked about the whole Jay-Z thing. I don't like the idea of people just going online and just rooting for these people. It's almost like a game at this point. They treat these people like sports. And now there's team shows and team anti-shows, whatever. Shows is who he is. He's talented. He's smart. He did say something that fucked with me. I'm not fucking with it because of that. Is that a permanent? I'm not fucking with you. Who knows? I don't know, man. I've never really been that deep into it to really care or be that much invested. I just know this clip. And I like the fact that you did say, Portia, did you watch the whole clip? I absolutely didn't. I need to do my research and see the whole clip and then give a better understanding of how I feel based off of what I see off my own opinion. And I think that's the whole point of why you even wanted to bring this topic up. And I don't want to speak for you, but the whole point is like, hey, why are you? And we've all been in this position. We've all, at one point in our life, we've seen somebody that we know and we cool with. And then there's somebody else, and that person we know and cool with say, fuck that nigga, they ain't cool. And the belief is supposed to be like, all right, well, since Portia said fuck Spike Lou, it's supposed to be fuck Spike Lou. Then I meet Spike Lou and be like, Spike Lou, cool ass nigga. Portia, why you don't fuck with Spike Lou? That's the whole point, and I think that's what the whole reason why you brought this up. Is there rhetoric that is dangerous from Candace Owens? Absolutely. Does she say things that you can agree with? Absolutely. I do recommend everybody. There's an interview, the Candace Owens show, I think it was. It's on YouTube 4 years ago with her and Mark Lamont Hill. Because Mark Lamont Hill was one of the first Black people who wasn't, Portia, as you've been saying, like part of the Christianity, the Christian culture, who sat down with her back when it was time taboo. Because even to that point, to Portia's point, the fact that some people would get dogged, there's certain people that even if you agree to have a conversation with them, remember what it was like when Kanye was reaching out to Trump, Kodak Black, niggas was like, oh man, you shouldn't even be. And I don't agree. I personally wouldn't do it, but I also don't have any vested interest. I do think it's better to build with people that you disagree with and not be around people that's always going to tell you what you saying is the shit or you right about everything. I think we can only grow if we accept the fact that we're wrong about shit. Right? True. We can accept the shit that we're wrong. That's the only way we grow. If I can talk about, but sometimes I do think there are people where the conversation is not going to be productive, like to even sit down and have it. Right? So there's a fine line and a fine balance, and it's up to individuals, not as a group, because I know I talked a lot about the Black experience and everything else. It is up to individuals to decide if that's something for them or against them, and I think it goes a long way. But we have had a robust conversation, and I think the conversation can really go for another hour. I'm being real, and it's not, and it is going to go again. We're going to.
I got a lot more to say, but I'm gonna let Portia live.
All right, so here's what we're gonna do. Obviously, I want everybody to get their last takes in, their last words in. But this is something that I would say probably January, so next month at some point. Let's get back in the holiday spirit, man. Let's calm down a little bit. But definitely at the top of the year, I want to make sure I do this and with good feedback, because I think there are going to be a lot of bookworms who are intelligent, who have some feelings. I want them to digest everything Portia said, digest everything Spike said, digest everything I said. I want to hear the good, the bad, the pros, the cons. We want to hear all of that. We want to take all of that and maybe have a further conversation about this, because Portia, you said things that I agree with 100%. I think the disconnect is the individual in question or the individuals in question. And that's just human nature, right? We like who we like. Sometimes you just don't like a motherfucker, and it don't matter what they say. They can say 100% truth. I talked about Charleston White. Sometimes I'll be upset. And why is it like that, right? Why am I upset when I hear shit that he says? And I'm like, damn, that nigga cooking. but I'm mad that it's him. I'm mad that it's him, the one that's saying this shit. I wish it was
but
somebody
even a
else.
broken clock is right twice a day.
Twice a
Yeah,
day.
man, even the garbage can gets a steak.
Everything.
Yeah,
you know.
What I will say, I think it was really this conversation was refreshing. It was interesting. The people that we brought up. What I will say, the difference between these people and someone like, let's say, a Dr. Umar, because we didn't bring him up, but some people would classify him the same.
Time out, real quick, Spike. I'm sorry.
I already know what you about to say.
I'm sorry.
Tell me. What? I'm missing this up.
What year was that, Portia? Like 2014, 15?
Dr. Umar shot at Portia?
No. Portia hit me up one day randomly. Yeah. Hey, I got tickets. I got tickets to go see this dude. I wasn't familiar with who Dr. Umar was. This had to be like 2014. I got tickets to go see this dude. I think that you'll fuck with him. And I'll be damned. We get up to this spot and it's Dr. Umar. And I would never forget that. Like almost to the point, you know how sometimes some shit happens and you think it's a dream?
Yeah.
Not being there, but after the fact, like years later, like once Dr. Umar became Dr. Umar, I started tripping. Like, hold on, like, is this the nigga that Portia took me to go see? Like, I'm like, damn. And it just anytime Dr. Umar mentioned, the first person I think of is Portia, because me and Portia definitely saw Dr. Umar in person. But go ahead, Spike. My bad. As soon as you said Dr.
I was just
Umar,
gonna say,
out of that.
The point of that is the difference between those people and why we're able to have conversations about Andrew Schultz or Candace Owens or all the different people that we had before we mentioned Dr. Umar. I really think he genuinely believes in what he's saying. I think that for those other people that we're talking about, there's a level of showmanship they're doing that makes us skeptical anyway. Whether you fuck with them or you don't fuck with them, there's something that you're looking at and be like, okay, that's entertainment. With Dr. Umar, to his credit, I do feel like he genuinely believes all the shit that he's saying. I don't give a fuck how the media feels about him. Or excuse me, he's saying, I don't give a fuck about the media feels about me or how you as my peer feel about me. This is what's actually going on. So I wanted to point that out because he never came up in our conversation, but I do think that he's in the field of all these people. But I do think the reason that he's separated from these people is because it's a genuine feel for him. I don't know that that's true for Candace Owens, Charleston White, Andrew Schultz. I think there's a performative aspect to everything that they're doing and not to what Dr. Umar is doing. He's performative in the sense of his actions and how his mannerisms and things like that. But I do think that what he's saying is genuinely true to him. And I think that's a thing to be noted to with all of those other people that we mentioned. There is a performative aspect to what they're doing.
Portia, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Great conversation. And as you said, Rich, I just wanted to bring up Candace Owens and everything because with me rebranding the frequency and wanting to have the conversations, I just feel like we would be better as a culture and move forward if we truly didn't just take the clips. We truly just had the conversation and didn't take don't take one instance and make that the person's whole identity, whether it's Jay-Z, Andrew Schultz, myself, especially with people who do podcasts. And, you know, sometimes you get in your bag and somebody actually has to know you to know what you meant by that. But when we get a viewer in Africa that just pop in, they might be like, what the fuck is they talking about? You know? Right. So I think everything is context. And I just want people to get back to conversations and context.
100%, man. And I think it should always, every conversation fit in like this. Like, listen, people gonna disagree with you all the time. If somebody listen, I always break it down to the most simple level. If my favorite color is blue and somebody else's favorite color red, nobody's gonna beef over that. It's not gonna be no big deal. Right? And that's how we should. And I know a lot of this affects livelihoods and other things and conditions. So I don't want to say it's that trivial. But it is okay to disagree on things and just be like, all right, we had a conversation, we had it out, and that's it, and move on. It shouldn't be like I ain't fucking with that person. It shouldn't be I ain't hitting them up no more. Like, it is what it is. We can all have conversations and go from there. So, Portia, as always, another great conversation. We're glad that you're here.
Pleasure.
We can't wait to get on the frequency. We can't wait for it to come back. Listen to more of these conversations. As always, you will be back within the next 4 weeks. I forgot to ask Spike Lou about the Usher concert. I guess we'll do that another time. The Usher concert.
One thing I will say, to end it on that, my mom wanted to see him, so we made it happen when he came to Atlanta. We went to go see him, but everything they say about T.I. is true. All that shit about him and Tiny, like the excitement that he had for the cherry shit and getting Tiny to like all of that shit that they say was true is true. Like a video is worth 1,000 words. If y'all ain't seen it, go check out my Instagram. Yeah, but all that shit they say about him is true.
I can't wait
It
to
was
hear
hilarious.
your feedback on that Usher concert. I cannot wait.
Yeah,
I went. I just want to see.
Yeah, we got to talk about that.
Okay.
We'll matter of fact, we'll wrap after. But appreciate y'all, bookworms. Thank you. This is chapter 14 featuring Portia Renee.
Portia.
Yes,
We'll
it
be
was
back
a pleasure.
next
Thank
week.
you guys.
Yep, we'll have another guest next week. We'll be back for chapter 15. Continue with these conversations. Until then, we appreciate you. Y'all be cool. How y'all be cool, and we out.
Peace out.
Peace.